Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to episode 14 of the Build with AI the Right Way series. Sorry, I got a bit caught up there, but yeah, welcome back, guys. We're changing the format now, so we're diving a lot more into specific topics that I think are going to benefit you way more than just doing builds on the channel. And today we're going to be covering how to build durable, safe, isolated, scalable AI agents. And I'm kidding you not when I say this. This is the best way that I have ever seen how to build an agent. And I'm going to teach everything to you guys today. And we're going to be doing it with GPT 5.6 So, which was literally dropped just last night. So if you guys are excited for that, do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button. We're going to dive into a demo right now. Check this out, guys. We have a post demo here. So in this case, this is our agent post. And I'm going to be showing you how to go ahead and build agents just like this. If that's exciting, drop where you're watching from right now. Leave a comment if you're watching the replay. And get ready for this one. All right. Let's go and see. Okay. So here we have a little bit of a demo. I'm just going to dive straight into it rather than wait a little bit. But in this case, Jay, are we good? Because I'm not sure. My thing glitched out a little bit. But either way, all right, here we have the demo. So basically what I'm going to be showing you today is how we're going to break down these 6 elements of an agent, okay? So most of the time when you think about an agent, you just think, oh, like I'm going to chat to it, it's going to do something. There's so much more that an agent can do. So we're going to go ahead and dive into that, okay? So in this case, I've got a few dummy prompts here, and this is actually from my dedicated video that I did yesterday. All right, we're actually going to release it on Sunday. So as soon as that goes live, you guys can go ahead and check that one out. But in this case, let's go ahead and see how did signups do this week compared to last week. Now, I want you to pay attention to the right-hand side. This is what many people don't see what happens in the background. So this kicks off an entire workflow in the background, which is durable. Now, durable is the key word here, right? It means basically that this will last if it runs for hours, because a lot of the models now, like GPT 5.6 So, Opus 4.8, even Fable 5, these all can run for hours at a time. So in this case, this is going ahead and even called up sub-agents. So in this case, we can see steps. So the workflow started off, it started step 1, started doing an analysis. So it's got custom tool calling, and then it spun off its own sub-agent, okay? We can see how much each workflow step roughly cost. And then we can see exactly what the agent is doing. So we have orchestrator patterns here. We have full workflows. This is actually doing something really cool under the hood. And what I'll do is I'll show you this bit. So if we go ahead and dive in here, look at what it just did once this text is done, right? So in this case, it done all of the work and it came back to us with a nice breakdown of all of the metrics that we're after. But I really want you to pay attention to this over here. So I'm going to drop the music a little bit. But down here, you can see like the Python ran in the Eve sandbox. And this is the game changer moment that I want you to all to pay attention to. Every agent that I interact with that we're going to build today has its own sandbox environment. And what does that mean? It doesn't mean that, typically if you have any kind of AI, say you just use an AI SDK or LangChain or something, those just tend to be very flat calls to an AI. Yes, they can have tool calls and they can have a few things like that, but they're very flat. They don't actually do much. And you can't actually have let's say I want to do some complicated calculations in just like I would do on my own computer with my own files. With a sandbox, we can give an agent its entire own isolated workspace. So we're going to go ahead and show you how to do all of that. And that's going to be part of the workflows and sandbox part of today's build. Then we have Eve, which is absolutely incredible. It's an entire new framework from Vercel, which is going to allow us to build the agents. And then, of course, we have a Vercel Connect. So here's a cool part about today's build. We're not just talking to it through the dashboard. We're also going to be interacting with it. Look at this, guys, through a terminal, as well as through Slack, or any other channel that you wish. Like it could be Telegram, it could be Discord. Loads of people want to interact with the agents, not just on the web, but I do it a lot of the time just from my phone, okay? So in this case, we're going to be doing the same thing just from our phone, okay? Give me 1 second, guys. I forgot to put my everything on live mode. Otherwise, things are going to ping on my screen. Luckily, I had to figure that one out. Okay, so in this case, we can carry on. So look, we can go ahead and actually chat to it from the terminal here. So if I go ahead and do pm dev:/Eve, and now what you can see is this actually connects to the agent, and I can go ahead and ask the same question. So previous questions I asked, like run the weekly metrics report and have the investigator check anomalies, all right? So in this case, I'm gonna say, run a weekly report, tell me what the churn was from last week to this week. And in this case, we can go ahead and spin that off. And now that will go ahead and kickstart off the agent. Now in the background, I want to show you some really cool stuff of what we're going to dive into, okay? So the most important thing here is actually Vercel Connect, because we can actually connect to our agent to things like MCP servers, as well as custom, any basically protocol or, interface that supports OpenAI spec. All right, so I'll explain what all that is in a bit, but you guys can see here, look, it gives us a really nice breakdown. If I go down here and I zoom in, we can see really, really nice breakdown of all the tool calls, bash, load scale, query metrics, and then the sub agent call, right? So all of this happens as we're going ahead and chatting to it, okay? So I'm also going to go ahead and show you, obviously you don't want your agent to be public. You don't want to be able to, for everyone to access this. So how can we secure this, and how does it know who it's talking to? And that's where, you guys have seen on this channel over and over again, I speak about Clerk a ton because they're incredible for exactly this, all right? We're going to be adding Clerk authentication, so that way our agent is authenticated. You can use whatever setup you want, but in this case, Clerk is my go-to for a number of reasons, because most of the time when you have an agent, you don't want it to essentially be free because it costs you money to run that thing. So typically you put it behind a paywall, and that paywall you have to set up, you have to add usually Stripe webhooks, all this billing stuff, and it takes ages. And all you want to do is build a cool app. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and do all of that through Clerk. They handle all of the authentication, every authentication provider we can pretty much dream of. Plus, they give us multi-tenancy as well as subscription billing, okay? They even now have a really cool thing called account tokens. Just the way you get tokens on Claude or Codex, we now have it on Clerk as well, okay? And to get all of this set up, we're actually going to be using the Clerk CLI. So this one's absolutely awesome. It's absolutely my favorite, and I love this. Every time I go live, it's like they just added on new things. So previously, we just had Clerk init, config, and deploy. Now we have Clerk webhooks listen, as well as Clerk impersonate. So it can actually impersonate short-lived user sessions on the account. So that way we can go ahead and actually figure out what a user is exactly experiencing if they were to ever reach out and say they had a problem. So this is absolutely game changer stuff. I'm going to show you how to get your agent to set all of this up. And of course, yesterday, GPT or OpenAI released their brand new SOL model. Okay, so I don't know if you guys have seen, but GPT 5.6 was released yesterday. It has 3 variants: SOL, Luna, and Terra. We're going to be diving through the most powerful version, SOL, and I'm going to be stacking it on ultra mode so you guys can see exactly how powerful that thing is. Okay, and in order to build the entire agent that we're talking about today, we're going to dive into Vercel. Okay, so Vercel, you know them before. I've used them a ton on the channel. Next.js is what we use for the web, sort of building out our websites, all that amazing stuff. Now we have a framework for building agents, and I'm not joking. Even if I didn't work with Vercel, and this video, by the way, is not sponsored by Vercel. We've used them in the past, and we do have an affiliate link with them. However, it's worth mentioning that this actual video was just something we wanted to do with them because we absolutely love this tech. Right? So this is actually straight from the heart. I promise you now, this is amazing stuff. Okay, so get excited. If you're watching this as well, you're probably one of the first people in the world to know about Vercel, because not many people even know about this yet. Okay, so the thing I absolutely love about this, and look at this, Akmal says, wow, I didn't hear of this, we'll check it out. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Basically, what we have is just how we have like the router directory inside of Next.js, but everything is file based. Now think about that for agents, okay? So I'll show you our code first, and let me dive into the code quickly. If I show you the rough demo that I showed over here, look, an agent.ts file. Guys, this is all you need. And you don't even need this part. This part is like, extra stuff. You just need a description, a model, and then reasoning. And you can pretty much, that is it. That's all you need to get the entire thing up and running, right? Then you can add in obviously different variables and things like that. But instructions MD, number one. Well, this is actually the agent TS, but instruction MD literally is just what the agent does. This identity, basically how you want that to interact with everyone. So that's going to be the instructions file. We come down and we can see agent.ts. Okay, so in this case, we can see this is how the file I just showed you. Basically, it could be as small as just defining the model. And again, this is now optional. So I really want to pay attention to this, right? This is now optional. You do not need to have an agent.ts file. It will automatically default to, I believe it's Sonnet 5 is the default model inside of the Vercel AI gateway. And if we go down here, this is where it gets really nice, because now whenever we have a ton of skills, we can just stack them inside the skills folder, and they literally will just register to this agent. So in this case, I've got a skill here called metric definitions. I've got another skill in the typical skill format that we're used to called skill.md and so forth, okay? Now, this is also where I'm going to be teaching it how to use things like clerk. And without, I forgot to mention as well, when we do sign up with clerk, it will mean the absolute world to me if you use the link in the description. It does tell them that you came from this video, and it lets me keep on doing like things like this for absolutely free. So massively appreciate you guys for that. Okay. Now, if we go back down here, we can see tools. And this is honestly where I think things started to really kind of click with me. And I realized that, okay, they're really onto something big here. So if you click on tools here and we go into a function, all it is, guys, is a defined tool block. Now, obviously, I'm doing quite a lot here. Or even this is not actually that big of a file, but all you need is this per tool. There's no registering it to an agent. There's no like complex logic or anything like that. You literally have a tools folder with the name of the function, .ts, and then you literally just define the tool, the input schema and the user validation to make sure it's type safe, and then an execute block. That is it. You don't need to do anything else. And now you have tools, and that's automatically registered to the agent. And they know that that agent will know now it has the get weather tool. Same with the sandbox. Sandbox is even easier. You simply go ahead and pop a sandbox folder, and then you do sandbox.ts, and then you can go ahead and configure things like the runtime environment for that sandbox. And it gets even better because what you can even do is if I go to the sandbox folder over here and I zoom in a little bit, you can see like I have a TS file with some settings inside of it where I can define things like how many virtual CPUs do I want when I deploy this and so forth. But I can also have a workspace folder. And inside that folder, guys, I can have anything. So think of this as literally like my agent's private folders structure. Okay, so it has access to everything inside of it. Now, this is going to blow your mind. We're in a TypeScript base right here. So in this case, all of our files are TypeScript. We're using JavaScript, TypeScript on top things, right? But in this case, scripts, that's a Python file. Okay, so now, yes, your agent can run anything, including Python files, including you could probably have a C++ in there, and I guarantee the thing will somehow work, right? You can probably figure that one out, but I know for a fact we can do Python, and that's crazy good because agents are amazing with Python because it means they can write little amount of code and they can get tremendous good outcome, okay? So I'm going to show you how we can do that as well, which I thought was absolutely nuts that you can go ahead and do that. We have a comment here from Akmal. He goes, this will speed up my agent building. I've been using Vercel AI SDK. Thanks. Honestly, same as me. I was using the Vercel AI SDK for so long until this came out. Now, I promise you will never go back. Right? Connections, it gets even more powerful. So here we have MCPs we can connect to, all of that good stuff. And then we have sub-agents. Sub-agents, it gets like, you would think this is where it gets complicated, but it really doesn't. You have a folder inside of sub-agents, and then your first folder is the sub-agent name. So in this case, mine is investigator. So like we've called it investigator. Then you can have as many folders as you want for different sub-agents. And all it is that same repeated folder structure for each sub-agent. So for example, the investigator sub-agent has an agent.ts with the exact same setup, the exact same instructions MD. And now our primary orchestrator agent, which is the top level agent, it understands that, okay, it has a sub-agent. It has 5 sub-agents, and it knows what tools, what skills they all have, and it knows how to go ahead and access it. You don't have to do a single thing. That, to me, is incredible, because if you've ever done this manually, you'll know that takes a lot of work, right? And then, of course, you don't always want to interact with your agents manually, so we have schedules for that. You can go ahead and basically do a very, very simple schedule here, and I don't know if I did do it here, Monday schedule. In this case, look, every single Monday, I'm going to have this agent go ahead and kick up, right? And I've got a big bit of commenting here. So this will be in the live video, a video I'm dropping on Sunday. So you can feel free to check that one out. But in this case, look, every single Monday at 9 UTC time, it's going to go ahead and trigger the following job, okay? So it will literally go ahead, wake up, and it'll go ahead and basically send this to an agent and in its own isolated sandbox and go ahead and give me a response, okay? So it's absolutely incredible, right? I think I skipped over Slack, this part. All right, so the final one I want to mention is this channels. Channels is how we talk to it. So in this case, you can see each of these is leveraging different parts of Vercel's already existing agent stack. Okay, so in this case, Vercel Connect, Chat SDK. And guys, look at that. It's literally one snippet of code to connect your credentials. So that way I can talk to it from Slack. And I'll be doing that today. I'll be doing the entire thing inside of this build, right? Okay, I think I'm dropping another build on Sunday, but it basically is coming out very soon, okay? But we got tons of stuff to look forward to on the channel. So if you haven't already, do me a favor, hit the like button and subscribe to the video. We already have, the viewership's growing. I like this, okay? And remember, guys, during these live streams, please ask questions because it's the best thing you could possibly do in these live streams, because now they're going to be a lot more teaching focused. So you're going to get most value out of this. If you just literally don't feel scared to ask me a question, just ask any question. There's no dumb questions here. Just feel free to ask me whatever you want. I wish someone did it for me when I was learning this stuff. So literally ask away and I'll give you whatever answer you want, okay? So in this case, we have all of the pattern here. And the main thing is like the durable execution. So these are all the different steps that is happening when an agent executes. So a final look, now that we understand the entire stack, is that if we go over here, now if I was to go ahead and say, let's go ahead and say, how are my conversions increasing week on week? And I'm using Super Whisper in case you're wondering, right? Now you can see, look, now the workflow starts off, and then it will basically go ahead and think, and you can have all your reasoning. By the way, you can also have human in the loop here. So that means questions. That means things like interrupting it. I can go ahead and hit stop here. I can go ahead and interrupt and send another one to steer. All those things can be done with Vercel Eve really easily, okay? Let's go ahead and see someone's in our pipeline idea if you want to try it. Okay, nice, cool. But guys, trust me, this is the best I've ever seen, right? Look at this. You have the parameters, results, all of this good stuff. But there you go. Worked, right? The whole thing worked. And then in a second, it will go ahead and drop our response, right? And the main thing I want to pay attention to is here as well. Look, we get the thought time for reasoning, and everything is just happening in the background. Now, the really cool part is that when I deploy this, it's simply attached. So you're probably wondering, okay, we've got this cool folder structure, but deploying it, how the hell does that work? And it gets so easy, guys. If we go to our next config, look at this. It's so simple. All we have, I kid you not, it's like unbelievable how simple they've made this. You have a with Eve function that you basically just wrap around your next config. And just from doing this, now when I do Vercel deploy, it will go ahead and deploy, and my Eve will be deployed on the same instance as my next.js app, right? It literally just wraps the app. And that gives us a hook inside of the app. I believe it's inside of my page, inside of our agent chat. And you can see we have use Eve agent. Just by adding that in, we basically go ahead and get access to these imports like so. Okay, so super easy to go ahead and do it. And if you're wondering, oh, but Sunny, I don't want to get locked into Vercel's ecosystem, you don't worry. You can literally deploy Vercel Eve on whatever you want. It can be Docker, it can be Vercel, it could be any self-hosted solution you have. You can literally deploy Eve to them. So they've done an amazing job here. So props to them, guys, honestly, because I thought it was much needed right now with the way the agents are growing, the usage. So without further ado, let's dive into it. And then here we can see the new ChatGPT app. So if you, in case you're not wondering, in case you're confused and you don't know what happened yesterday, basically OpenAI released their new model GPT 5.6 called So, and then that comes in three variants: So, Luna, and Terra. That's in the strength, basically, the way it breaks down. You have So at the top, Luna is the middle one, and Terra is like the cheaper one. And they basically go down half price every time. And then what they did is they actually merged the GPT and the Codex app together. Right. So in order to get this app, I would just recommend go to their site and download the new Codex app, and you'll get this new one, which basically has this work setting as well as a Codex one now. So you have it all in one app now. Okay. So I'm going to be showcasing it here today for you guys. In this case, that we can go ahead and select our model. So I'm going to be using 5.6 So, but like I mentioned, these are the new ones that they dropped as well. 6 So is obviously the most powerful one. And then it gets even cooler because if we go down from advanced, you see this slider? I can toggle and I can go to Ultra. And the real nice thing about Ultra, which they did pretty sick, is basically Ultra is not about being a smarter model and all this and that. It's just way more better at handling parallel orchestration. So that means sub-agents, delegation. That means kicking off bigger workflows. So in this case, pretty cool stuff, right? And you can tell how Claude and OpenAI are having a big battle right now with workflows with Opus and So having its own Ultra flow, kind of whatever this is right now, okay? And of course, you can speed it up by going ahead and pressing this button here, which will, I think it doubles the cost, okay? So BWest says, are there any security concerns with this? Honestly, I'm going to show you guys how you can literally dial this one down. So if we go to, for example, the configuration of my old agent, so this one I just set up here, this one didn't have it, but we'll set it up today where we can basically add in your own auth provider. So in this case, we're going to add clerk into the agent itself. So that way, literally, before the agent ever even replies, it knows who it's talking to, and it also knows what it's allowed to do. So we can do it at that level. So we do have, a nice bit of granular control here. So we can basically prevent anything bad from happening, right? So you do have control over this stuff. And again, the whole point of this is that you have a sandbox, so that way it's isolated and it's not going to do any reckless damage on the person's computer or whatnot, okay? So So somebody said, interesting. As Sunny mentioned, is that the case? If we have AWS or Google or Azure? Yep, you can go ahead and deploy. Like literally, you just need, if it's got a Docker container or whatnot. I'll show you the documentation in a sec, but we're going to dive into it straight away now, okay? So let's go ahead and click onto Codex. Now, I'll start off inside of here, but I'm going to be jumping back and forth between Cursor as well because I like to show you guys the code and how it's working, right? NC4 says, if we're moving to production and we want to use external workspaces, file stores like S3 or Superbase file storage, how to do it. Another thing is, what about persistent memory? Do they support that? Very good questions. Firstly, you can use all of the above. So Superbase file storage, you can go ahead and connect into any of those things. We're going to try it today with Convex. So I'll show you how you can basically do that. But you could use Neon, Superbase, AWS, literally Azure, whatever you want. You can use any backend here and it will work. And also for the other question, which was persistent memory, do they support that? They do actually have, they have memory. We'll dive into it today. I need to dive into that one a bit more. But yes, you can have layers of memory. I do it myself. The reason why I'm thinking is because I don't want to misinform you on Eve's side, right? But you can do it. We do it a ton with Hermes agents and all this stuff. So we're going to dive into that. We can look at it together. And that's part of why I want to do this today with you. I like to dive into this stuff with you guys as well when it's relatively new. So you can see the way I learn as well. And that's going to be a lot more helpful for you guys to pick this up. As opposed to me being this immediate pro at something and then just you guys find like, okay, he learned it that quick. How do I learn it? Okay. So Saraswata says, hello, Sunny, please help me with Codex or Claude, which is better for us. Honestly, whatever your budget supports, they both have $200 a month plans if you want to go to the max. GPT is going to be a lot more cost effective. Fable is going to be a bit more expensive, of course. So it really depends. I would say, I would honestly say just give them both a try. You have to give them both a try, see which one. I use all of them. I literally have Codex, Claude, and I use Cursor. And I have Max on all of them. Not for a flex, but because they all have their own use cases for me, right? Do you have a preference on which agent model, which agent provider and model? I'm still exploring different ones, especially around the cost and charges. In my case, I would say try to go ahead. If you're building a custom agent like this, the simplest approach would be use something like Vercel's AI Gateway, because that way you can have one key, switch models as you need to, and it will show you the breakdown of billing. What's he saying here? Provider and model. Provider, it depends. Like again, these are all just different harnesses that the models are sitting inside of. Okay, but let's dive into this, and then we can obviously have a bit more of a chat as we go along, right? So first thing I want you to do is we need our authentication account because we're going to need that later on. So I want you to head over to the first link in the description and you'll reach the page like so, okay? The clerk page. We're going to need this because this is how we're going to secure and lock down our agent, which is very important. So I want you to go ahead and sign up, create an account. In this case, I've already got an account. So I'm going to log into mine right now. And then once we've done this, I'm just going to go ahead and log in right now. Once you've done that, you'll get to the dashboard. You can either create a project, in fact, or we're going to stop here. So once you go to this page, you're going to probably see like a page, which is like a, welcome to clerk page. However, what's that? Please provide us with some promo codes with AI from your link. I appreciate that, dude. Thank you so much. But yeah, just use the clerk link in the description down below, as well as the Vercel link. There's also another one when you sign up to Vercel. I believe, Jay, if you can just correct me on that, but we also have a Vercel link down below. It will mean the world to me if you go through those links, guys, right? You'll get benefits in both ways. And it helps us because we can keep making these videos for free, okay? So in this case, yep, Jay's just dropped it as well. And also, Jay, if you can make sure that's in the description, that'll help out a ton, right? So sign up to Clerk, and then we need to set up our CLI. So the next step is you want to go ahead and open up a terminal and basically run this command. Now, we're going to do all of this from pretty much Codex, okay? So GPT. And then what we're going to effectively do is I'm going to show you both, the mix of both, so we have a nice balance. I'm going to open up Warp. Warp is like my sort of terminal of choice lately. I just like the way it looks, to be honest. But we're going to go ahead and go into our documents folder, into our builds folder. And actually, oh no, we don't need to do this even. You don't even need that. We're going to do paste, basically. We're just going to install this. Now, I've already installed this into my computer, okay? So you don't need to do that. Or you're going to have to do that, but I don't need to do that. And once it's done, all I want you to do is type in clerk-v, right? And in this case, I'm on clerk version 1.5. I believe, let's just check if there is an update. But I believe, oh, there is one. Okay, so you should be on latest 2. So let me go ahead and upgrade that right now. And we're going to go ahead and see it's upgraded. And now, if I go ahead and basically kill this terminal, open up another one, and I do clerk-v, we should have clerk version 2. Okay, so when you install it, at the time of this recording, Clerk version 2 is the latest one. Okay, so I've installed this, and the next thing is I want to do clerk login. Okay, and you'll see it says signing in. You're already logged in. So in this case, I don't need to log in, right? But you need to log in, and that's important for this. Okay, so once you've done that, go ahead and basically proceed, and then you'll basically exit the terminal. Then you're done for that part. Okay, so now we have clerk CLI set up, and it's linked up to our account. So in this case, I'm just going to jump over to the team account, which is the one that is logged into. So now my clerk CLI has access to this, right? So basically, you can come in and basically do this, right? Now, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and dive into, in this case, oh, by the way, if you haven't already, join our community, Zero to AI Hero. We're very close to opening the doors for this. If you find anything confusing today, sign up to that. You'll be the first that you can go ahead and join that. And we're basically going to have live coaching every single week, everything into module format. So that way, if you ever find that he's just flying through this stuff on live streams, this will be where I'll baby it down into like little baby steps. Anyone will be able to learn from that, okay? So sign up to that. Link is in the description down below. All right, so we've got another question here. I've seen a lot of your content. You prefer Clerk. If you always have used AWS Cognito, So in my opinion, Clerk is king. They're amazing. Someone's saying Sunny uses Cursor. Yeah, it's not VS Code, it's Cursor that I'm using. But no, I just love Clerk. They're incredibly forward in terms of agent first, as well as being able to just constantly come out with better and better things that help me build. Because in the end of the day, I don't want to build authentication and all these other things. I literally just want to focus on building a wicked app, and the infrastructure should be handled. Vercel Eve is our agent infrastructure, handled. Clerk, our authentication, our billing, handled. And then we can combine the two to basically make a secure agent. That's now done. I can focus on building the actual app, right? As opposed to rebuilding everything myself, and no one's gonna clap for you when you do that, right? Okay, they're gonna clap when you have an amazing app that makes a lot of money, right? So in this case, let's go to new task, and we're gonna click on choose project, and we're gonna start a new project from scratch, okay? So this one, I'm just gonna go ahead and call this one, let's say, give me a name for the agent. We can call this one, let's just call it agent YouTube demo, right? Or let's just call it the ultimate agent demo, right? And then we're going to click on save. And now I've got a folder. I'm on my local, so I'm running it locally. And we're on our main branch. And I'm going to be in Sol Ultra mode, okay? Now, a couple of things that I want to do here. Firstly, if we go to plugins, you can do a couple of things which are going to help your agent just get ahead, right? So it's going to know a bit more. It's going to have a bit more functionality. First one I recommend is type in Vercel, install this plugin. I've already done it. Basically, it adds skills, tons of them, to our Vercel, our agent, as well as the app, Vercel app. Okay, and that basically means it can deploy on our behalf. It can do a bunch of stuff. The next one I would say is Convex, because we're going to eventually use that as a dummy database today. So that way we can pull from data, pull some data, and we can basically see how an agent can actually go and grab information from a raw database. And then Clerk is the other one. However, sometimes it doesn't come up with GPT. Might be here. I've already got mine installed, but we can install it afterwards. But yeah, typically, depending on which coding harness you use, and when I say harness, I'm talking about GPT, Claude Code, Cursor, all that stuff, right? Okay, so we're done here for this. Let's go back to our task. And now this is where we kickstart off. So I want to say, I want to create an agent using Vercel Eve. So I'm just going to pop that in first. And then let's go ahead and say using Vercel Eve. And then what I like to do is I like to basically add a colon and I copy this link, okay? Now, the next step I want to do is, you see here, it says for humans or for agents, okay? So we're going to copy this skill, and I'm going to say install the following skill, install the following skill. My autocomplete is not very good lately, but we're going to copy that. We're going to go ahead over here, install the following skill for Vercel Eve, okay? And I'm basically just stacking on what I want it to do now, okay? And then the next thing I want to do is I'm going to say, I want to use Clerk as my authentication provider so that we can be ensured that our agent is talking only to logged in users, okay? And then, okay, my voiceover is terrible today. So I want to use Clerk as my authentication so we can be sure that agent is talking to only logged in users, okay? Then I'm going to say, we also are going to add another layer into it where we use Clerk billing so that only pro members who are on the pro plan get access to our agent. Okay, so I'm going to show you how you can add something like billing in the mix. So imagine we land on the homepage, it says login, and then basically I can log in and I can see like XYZ dashboard. And then imagine I upgrade to pro, and then I can see the agent chat. That's typically the flow you want to have, a paid customer that gets access to the special agent that can help them do stuff. Okay, so I'm going to show you how we can do that. And what I mean by this is that agent on the code level literally will not work unless they have the logged in user session, and that logged in user session is on the pro plan, right? So I'm going to show you how to add that level of gating into an app or an agent. Okay, now the next step is we want to go ahead and actually make sure it uses the correct CLIs. So while you do this, I want you to always use the CLIs that I have installed. Okay, so in this case, the CLIs I have installed, and then I'm going to just list them out. I'm going to say clerk CLI. I've also installed the Convex CLI. So in order to install the Convex CLI, you can go over here, type in Convex CLI on YouTube, literally on Google, go ahead and run this command, npm install Convex. But in fact, you don't even need to say that here, to be fair, right? Just tell it the CLI and it will do the rest for you. And if you need to log in, it will prompt you to log in and all that stuff. So clerk CLI, Convex CLI, and then we could say Vercel CLI as well, okay? And the reason is, so CLIs, I want you to think of this in a very specific way, right? Because we're local on our computer and we just installed the CLI, that means that on my local computer, from the terminal, the command line interface, that's what CLI stands for, I can write commands that basically do things on my account, right? So that's the first layer. You need to understand that. From a terminal now, because I have a CLI, I can go from this terminal. So let me go ahead and open up a terminal. So oops, not that one. So let's say, for example, like this is a terminal. From here now, I can go ahead and type in clerk, and I can do something like init, for example, and I can basically now perform things against my clerk account all from a terminal. That's the first thing of understanding what CLI is. Now, because we can do that, think about it. Now I can give that power to my agent, and it can act on my behalf to do things against my account. That's why CLIs are so important, okay? Now, that's the first step. And then we do have things like MCPs, which are basically model, well, I always forget these things. A model context protocol, meaning, what is MCPs actually? Model context protocol, yeah, there you go. I don't know why I went blank there, but basically you install an MCP, and that's basically your connection to an app. So if I install a linear MCP, it means that my app can now pull from my linear account. It can do a bunch of stuff using the tools that the MCP exposes. An MCP can expose tools, skills, sub-agents, a bunch of stuff that you can pull in. Okay, so that's effectively what we're going to be doing here. So I'm going to say, also make sure that you use all of the MCPs, skills available, and never assume off of pre-trained data. So I really like to go big on this. Make sure that you have use all the MCPs, skills available. Never assume off of pre-trained data. That means basically whatever the agent was trained on to get to this point, don't assume you know what you're doing. Just always refer to the latest docs. Okay, and I would even add that in. I'll say always refer to the latest docs. Okay, and then we can stick it in plan mode as well. So in this case, I can go ahead and do I'm going to go ahead and say plan. So plan mode, and now you can see we got plan mode on. 5.6 Ultra, and let's go ahead and kick this one off. Okay. In fact, what we could do, just to go ahead and showcase here, is, by the way, in case you're wondering, when we do have this set up, if we go to getting started here, we do actually have the quick start. So in this case, if you just ran this, it would literally set up that agent folder and all the kind of configuration around how you can run it locally. And also they have a setting up with a coding agent button over here. So in this case, you see this, we have a nice little snippet. But we have that there, okay? So we'll say this is from Vercel Eve docs, and I can literally just paste that in. And I like to put that around quotes sometimes whenever I pull that in. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. And then I'm also gonna do a few extra things. I'm gonna say tech stack I want. And then I'm gonna say next.js 16. I'm gonna say Convex database with lots of dummy seeded data. Okay, so I want to generate a lot of data. And then I want to say we can do all the channels and stuff later. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with that one. So I'm going to execute that now, and that will go ahead and kick off. And while that's happening, I can answer a couple of questions. So we have Akmal says, I recently found that it's more efficient and cost effective to use a Claude plan for Claude Code. I've spent quite a lot via the API tokens for Claude Code. It's insane how quickly it eats up credits. Dude, 1,000,000%. And the thing is, I'm glad you said this, because sometimes we assume that everyone knows this, but they honestly don't. So it's worth me mentioning a couple of times. Sorry, I've got cut here. But basically, if you're using API credits or API usage from any of these AI models, stop right now, okay? Go and get the plans. So whether it's, GPT has a max plan, Claude has a max plan, whatever they're called, basically, right? You have maxes. I pay $200 for these plans to get the max output, but those effectively give you like $4,000 of usage credits. Really, that's what it correlates to. So the difference is absolutely wild in what you're going to get versus paying directly from the API. So never do that. Okay. So if you're using this stuff, like you can see here, I am on a plan. So if I go to my usage over here, this is my plan. Look, 97% left. I even have these resets. So I can actually fully reset 3 times. Right. So right now, ChatGPT are being awesome with that. But you can see that I've got a 5-hour limit. I've got a weekly limit, 97% left. And now I can just go ham on this thing and just keep an eye on my usage limit, as opposed to getting billed an absurd amount. And trust me, the API cost will run up very, very quick. Okay. So, what are your thoughts on influencers who are trying to get into AI and seeing them build AI brains? It's an open topic. I mean, the main thing is that we use it a ton. So I have a second brain system with Obsidian, with my Hermes agent, and we even have Hindsight and all these memory layers to it. If you want to know more about that, because it kind of tangents off, then I highly recommend you join our community over at Zero to AI Hero. So go to the link in the description, join that. That's where I'll talk about all that stuff in depth, okay? Because yeah, it's amazing. Me and Jay use it a ton, okay? So in this case, I'll first ground this in the current workspace and live toolchain. I'm using the skill installer guidance for the requested Vercel Eve, the clerk-auth billing skills, and the next.js guidance. I'll also verify Eve, clerk, Convex, and Vercel against their latest docs, right? So in this case, we can go ahead and give it a bit of time. So let me use that now alongside. And I just want to check here. So this is the first time I've used this new app. So their new version of the app. So it'll be cool to kind of run through this together. But we can see it's doing a couple of searches. We can see the tool calls. But most of the time, what you'll find now with these like more powerful models is truly you can just leave them, and they're very smart, and they're literally built in a way now where it's kind of like hit go and just let them do their thing, right? And then you'll come back and you're going to review it. But when I say that, you see how we took a bit of time to get that prompt finally out? You want to spend longer on the initial planning, right? So in this case, we're creating a plan first, because when I do decide that, okay, I want to let it go and do its thing, I don't want to have to be worried about is it going to do it right? Is it going to do it to the end and all this stuff? And you have a couple of tools in your pocket, right? One is plan mode. So as it's doing it right now, it's basically figuring out everything it needs to do, and then it's creating a plan. The second thing, so I'm just going to draw on this. I'm going to say the first thing is this. Let me go ahead and do this. Number 1 is this. So in this case, this is number 1, plan mode. Okay, so I'm going to say number 1 is plan mode. Number 2 is, what's it called? While your stuff is loading, this is what I'd recommend you do. Git work trees is another thing that I'd recommend. So that way, if you ever go ahead and basically, like say right now, we're on our main branch. Let's say after we've done the base work, we want to have like 10 agents working on different things. You really want to be doing it with Git work trees. So that way they all have a copy of the same repo on your computer, and that way they can all change the same file and it wouldn't matter because they've got their own copies that they're working on, okay? So plan mode is one thing, Git work trees is another thing. I've gone blank on what I was going to say though. There was another thing that I was going to mention. It was, /go, right? So the next one is 3, and it's /go, right? So /go is a command that we would literally type in over here, right? So these are just things while it's loading. I think it's really good to teach you guys about. But /go, basically, we put the criteria next to it, right? So let's just say criteria here, right? And that just is what I would type in. Now, the reason for this, why it's so important, is because Go is basically like a loop, right? And you're probably wondering, well, isn't it looping right now? Well, it is, but it's not really doing what you think it's doing. So it's just kind of like running through stuff, figuring it out, right? But goal is literally like keep on going, like just keep on working until you hit this criteria, right? And then what I typically use Go for a lot of the time is I'll have tickets of work. I'll have like different things that I have. And these could be literally in Linear. It could be in Notion. It could be anywhere that I store my stuff. And I use Linear a lot for this. And then I would basically say, okay, I have a goal that I want this new feature set up, or these 3 new features set up. Keep working. I'm going to go to sleep. Make sure everything is done. Here is your acceptance criteria. And I'll basically put the final conditions. I say, I want it tested. I want to make sure that everything is happening. I want to make sure that there's no regression on what we currently had. So make sure you smoke test it. So run through the entire app, make sure everything is working. You didn't break anything that previously was there. All of that stuff. And also code review it, right? So I can basically put all of that into a criteria, and then the goal would basically, this agent would run. And don't get me wrong, yes, that would incur your token usage to be big, but this is what you really want to basically understand, that these commands are very, very powerful, okay? So I don't just go ahead and, let it kind of run on its own and forget about things. I would literally go ahead. I do let it do that, but I typically will have a very strong goal, okay? Now, I need to, 1 minute. It's the only annoying thing about when I do this is I can't draw anymore. Okay, there we go. Can it work? Yep, there we go. All right, so goal is number 3. And while that's happening, I'm just going to answer a question here. We've got Karthik says, how do we set up connections integrations for our users? Say, let users connect to their own Gmail or Linear from within our app. So remember, every single one of our agents is now in a sandbox, okay? So effectively, we can actually give them MCP connections for themselves that they can use. So we could actually investigate that today. I believe you can do that with Vercel Eve. But it's a very good question. That's actually a really, really good question. So what he's basically saying is if we create a custom agent that we're doing today, if I want to give them the option of connecting to their own custom MCP servers for their account, basically, right? So just their agent instance, how can we do that? So it'll be very interesting to dive into that, actually. Maybe we can see how we can figure that one out. But yeah, you can do that. There's many ways to do it. But all you're effectively doing, by the way, is you're just giving that agent that it's the person is speaking to an MCP configuration and then just kind of restarting their session. That's all you're kind of doing. And then that is an authorized, all they're doing is they have a token that allows that chat to basically interact with your, the backends that you want to interact with, whether it be Linear, Notion, whatever the case, right? So it's absolutely doable. And that's why you see a lot of these extra platforms that are doing it as well. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and turn this off now, the freeze mode, and then you can see that. So route authentication blocks request before model work, but Eve does not automatically enforce that session belongs to a column, therefore treating authenticator provider and owner as 2 separate server-side checks. Yes, correct. That's what I wanted. Convex holding the ownership mapping. I'm also reading the published Eve skill source now. The installation returns remains the first execution because it works with system and planning mode. Okay, so it's going to go ahead and basically give me a plan in just a second now. Right? And these tend to run quite long, and don't get me wrong, do we need it in ultra mode? No, it's absolute overkill right now, okay? But we're gonna let it do its thing so that way we can just mess around with this and see how it does, okay? But one thing I do recommend is with Eve, read the docs, okay? So read the docs, come into it. They have a very nice breakdown of all the different agent stuff and how you can do it. All of this stuff is great, okay? You've even got the files at a glance, so you can basically see your tool calls, basically how the entire thing happens. And you might have heard me say durable a lot of the time. So what does durable mean? It means that the session isn't going to die. It's just going to carry on, keep on streaming no matter what happens. Like it's a very important concept. So you can feel free to read this yourself. And then all of those individual parts, basically the folders structures, they have perfectly matching documentation that is basically for all of them. So you have agent, instructions, tool folder, human in the loop, for example. Like this is like approvals, questions. If we want to basically have something like the agent should stop here and basically give me a yes or no approval gate, right? So that's very important with agents. We can have that with this, right? So literally approvals, look at this, approve always, right? So if it uses a tool, for example, refund the charge. This is an absolutely amazing example here, right? Let's imagine we've got an e-commerce platform with an agent. You don't want to just say, go ahead and refund J user 734, refund his last transaction, right? And let's imagine Jay's a top user of this e-commerce platform. He's one of our best sellers ever, like buyers ever, and I basically said to my agent, go refund his stuff. And then my agent accidentally misinterpreted that as refund all of his purchases, right? We're screwed. And if you didn't have an approval gate, your agent could accidentally do that, okay? So in this case, if we had an approval, just by simply adding in approval always, right? In this case, you could basically just go ahead, do that, have an always gate, and now it would say, okay, here's what it's trying to refund. Do you accept? Like, do you approve that or no? And then you would be able to spot it. And that is called human in the loop. Okay, so that's one example of a human in the loop approval gate. Another one is questions. Questions you're probably very familiar with. You've probably seen it when you're using any coding harness like this. Naturally, you would have seen it a ton of times, or you would have interacted it without realizing, where you basically will get asked like 3 different questions and then like another field where you can type in, if you're not agreeing with any of the question answers that it gave you, it'll basically be like, okay, I have a decision to make, and it gives you 3, kind of templated answers that it can come up with. We can actually do all of that with Vercel Eve, okay? So it's pretty damn powerful. So BOS says the sign up link just takes me to the documentation, maybe because I'm already, if you're already a member, maybe it did. Jay, just go ahead and double check that one. And you're absolutely welcome, Karthik. I appreciate it. Right? Latest clerk is now included first party, clerk and Vercel Eve. Oh, nice. Look at that. July 8th. I did not even see that. Okay, and this is one of those human in the loop moments. How should users interact with this Eve agent? So we're going to say next.js web chat, API only. We're going to say the web chat. So scaffold Eve's first party web chat and gate the full chat experience. So we're going to do that. What should the demo agent actually do with the seeded Convex data? So SaaS data analyst, customer success copilot, e-commerce ops agent. So we could do something like, let's do something different besides the data analyst, because you'll have that code when that video drops. Let's do something like an e-commerce ops agent. So that way we can ask about orders and all that stuff, right? Who should hold the pro subscription? Individual user or organization? So this is the difference between B2C billing and B2B billing. B2C is like, for example, how we buy ChatGPT subscriptions, right? Most of us are users of something like ChatGPT. So you'd sign up, pay $20 or $200 a month. That's a B2C, right? If I wanted my company to be basically on a plan with ChatGPT, like a team plan, then I basically pay for one subscription and I can give memberships to all of my teams, and I've been paying for like 5 seats. That's known as B2B. That is organization billing. Clerk handles both of them and it does it amazingly. And also the CLI can handle the entire setup for us, but it's worth knowing the difference if you've never done that. Okay, so in this case, we're going to do individual user today. We're going to be doing B2C user billing, right? To keep it very simple. Now, BOS says, in relation to Clerk, is your setup for SaaS B2C to create a workspace per app? Any gotchas related to wanting to set up tiered features? So the good news is with Clerk's billing, you can set up tiered features super easy. So CLI can handle it with an agent. All of that can actually happen so quickly. We've actually got a few questions here as well. I'm going to answer that in a sec. Which Clerk application should own this demo and its billing catalog? So we're going to create a new app. Let's go ahead and read a CLI demo. No, let's create a new app here. USD pricing should the Clerk Pro user plan have? So like I said, the CLI can create everything on our behalf. So including the billing plans on Clerk. That's why you've not seen me go into the Clerk dashboard yet, because it will actually create the entire project from here because we logged into the CLI, all right? So in this case, we've got $20 monthly and annual. Let's do something like this, right? How far should the first implementation be delivered? We're going to preview deployment, build locally, provision development services, seed data. Let's go ahead and do local preview development for now, right? Preview deployment. So so his question was in relation to Cloud, is your setup for SaaS B2C to create a workspace per app? So in this case, we're just building like a test setup. We're going to have effectively our end goal today is going to be, we're going to go to the website. We're going to be able to, we're going to see a login gate. We're going to log in, and then we're basically going to see like a dummy dashboard of just stuff. It could be, for example, my orders, for example, okay? And then we're going to have like okay, I want to chat to the agent. So you have to upgrade to Pro. The reason why I'm doing it this way is because I'm teaching you the fundamentals, and then you can go and put this in any app you want, right? So it really doesn't matter. Once you know the fundamentals, you can go any app and just literally just take this and put it inside your app. It's very simple to do, okay? Then we're gonna basically have the Pro gate, so that user will have to upgrade to a Pro plan. We can pay monthly or annually. And then once they've done that, it unlocks the agent. And then we're gonna build a scalable agent, okay? So in this case, GPT, we're gonna allow the access. Let's go ahead and say, how large should the synthetic e-commerce data set be? 25K orders. Oh no, this is way too big. So we just need to say a small test database data set. Small test data set. We can say for small test data set. We could literally say 100 orders or 100 orders is enough, right? We don't need a lot of stuff here, right? Which AI gateway model should Eve use for the first build? So in this case, we're going to say use Vercel AI gateway, and then we're going to say use Claude Sonnet 5. Right? Which Vercel account should it? Okay, so I've got 2 teams here. I've got a YouTube team and a personal team in my Vercel account. So in this case, it's found my YouTube team. I'm going to use that team now. And that's actually a Pro plan, but you don't need the Pro plan for Vercel for this demo, but I'm going to be using that one because I've got credits on that account. Okay, can you self-host this outside of Vercel? Really good questions, guys. Okay, so let's go ahead and show you right now. You absolutely can. So if I go ahead and open this up, like if you go down here to guides, deployment, you can see here, look at this, guys. We've got when Vercel is set, blah, blah, blah. So the main thing I want to show you is, where is it? Build time sandbox deployment. So here, number 7. Deploy with Vercel, so easy. You just do Vercel deploy. And remember, you literally wrap your app with Eve, right? Literally with Eve in the next config, and you can do it. Or you can deploy without Vercel, right? So by doing that, you just do port 3000 Eve start, and you basically put your host URL in here. But now, instead of understanding this all manually, all I would recommend you do, click this, your URL will change, copy this URL, give it to your agent, say, here is my setup. For example, I have a Docker container. That Docker container is hosted on AWS with this current setup. I want to go ahead and host Vercel Eve from here, but my next.js app maybe lives over there. Just give the information to your agent and it will literally help you figure this one out. But here, this is the documentation you need, right? So Eve writes the standard Nitro output under output instead of Vercel build output. And the way I can describe this is, the way it works is, so I ran it locally here, right? So this is all running locally. The way it can do this is basically it's storing local files. So you see here, we have workflow data, we have .eve, and you can see here, look, sandbox cache. We have all of this stuff like workflow data. If I jump into steps and dive into this is all the data that's basically being stored. So if we deploy to Vercel, you're not going to really see this unless you dive into the dashboard. And then you can see observability, which is pretty cool. That's why I like deploying to Vercel. And you get their fluid compute and all that stuff. But if I was to deploy this anywhere else, it's absolutely fine. I'd still get all of that data. It just, how it's presented to me would be up to me. But I would still have all of the actual information in the files all through the folder structure. So it literally sit next to that, right? So this is how literally Eve is running under the hood. Okay, so hopefully that answered the question. Yeah, and then you can verify, and basically this entire page, if in fact I would go ahead and just copy the page, and you can go ahead and just paste it into a chat, for example. Okay, so for the selected preview, I'll keep Convex as a real cloud deployment and connect the Vercel Pro on that same seeded backend. In this case, look, we can see it's actually setting up some of our Convex side of things. Logged in so far, first party, Next.js web chat, and e-commerce. And you can see how the planning tends to take time, right? And bear in mind, we're in Ultra. And Ultra tends to be a bit overkill in terms of thinking. I understand that. But I would rather show you this just to kind of get things, in case you're wondering how it works, right? The account inspection found 3 Convex teams. So I have 3 different Convex teams. One of my students here, Vercel link team. Let's just do my regular team, right? And then what kind of fictional e-commerce business should this seeded data represent? Let's see, consumer electronics. Well, we're techies, so let's do, like an electronics store. Which design direction should the authenticated chat experience use? Let's say industrial control room, Ventura ledger, retail command center. We could say, let's just say friendly, as it's for a user to log into. They will be able, let me just go ahead and talk to it. They will be able to see all of their order details once they're logged in. And then if they're a pro member, they can chat with the agent, and that agent can go ahead and we're going to have some test functions. So for example, that agent can place orders for us, maybe with an approval gate. So that's the human in the loop element from Vercel Eve, as well as process refunds, perhaps. So we can go ahead and have a approval gate for that. And maybe also questions in case I ask it to go and find 3 products that I might like based on what my dummy cart looks like. Okay, so in this case, I've gone ahead and just wrote all that out, and we don't even need to check it too much. The only thing I would say is when you use tech names, tends to go ahead and clean those up. So in that case, I'm going to go ahead and pop that in. That's a prime example of human in the loop right there. Okay, so how can we implement user behavior features like learns through or chat actions? Is it possible with this? So you need to elaborate on what your question is, because it can go a couple of ways with that. Because I'm not really sure if you're asking me one of 2 things. So feel free, just drop another question and explain to me what you mean by that. But I want to see something here. We can multi-tenant memory. So here we are. Right? So we had a question earlier about multi-tenant memory, right? So basically, if I have an organization or a user, will it remember that? Is there persistent memory or anything like that? So in this case, look, Eve does not have a tenant-aware memory subsystem, but you can build one today by composing 3 existing primitives. Okay, so route auth puts the tenant and user under context session auth. Okay, so we have some form of identification for the user. Dynamic instructions load the caller's memories before each turn, and ordinary tool write and delete memories in your application store, right? And it's basically giving us a rough structure. So for example, a lib memory store, derive the memory scope from the turn. So basically it's giving us a layout for how we could implement a memory system here. But really, if you want to do it, the reason why I think they've done a good decision here is because you can get really deep with the memory systems, right? If you've never done anything with agents before, you'll know that the best way of storing memories or any form of like indexable search thing is you typically will have one memory like a relatively not that long memory. And I know this because if you've ever done things like Hermes or OpenClaw, this tends to be a lot of the time why Hermes wins the battle. Your memory shouldn't be that big. It should be like a consolidated like chunk of 2,000 characters or something. And then you have these referenced folders, and these referenced folders basically have all of this like nested information inside of them. So your memory can basically reference these folders, and if it needs to, it can go and basically elaborate on information. And from that, you can have like keys, just like it said here. So for example, we can have like context.session-auth. So there's an identifier for the memory file that I'm trying to access. Now, you have to be careful if you do this yourself. You'd have to make sure that obviously I should not be able to access, let's say, another company's information or memories. So that's one thing you'd have to do yourself. And two, the better way of doing this is if you have tons of really complex things like file uploads and things that you want to store, for example, as well, vector embeddings. So things like Convex can handle vector embeddings, but vector embeddings are basically, say we take a massive PDF, we turn it to an embedding, we basically convert a PDF into a bunch of coordinates that AI LLMs can really well understand similarities from, okay? Now, if we have like 10 different PDFs and they're all converted to embeddings, now I can compare two different PDFs and I can basically tell how similar they are, and I can also derive value from them, right? So it's a lot more searchable, indexable, as opposed to having tons of text files that an LLM has to search through, okay? So these are all things which you can implement, things like Honcho's memory system. So I'm not going to dive too far into this, but Honcho Dev is a memory system that you can throw into it. I personally use Hindsight on my own setup. So in case you want to know how I do it, I have Hindsight running locally on a Mac Mini. And basically this is where my agent lives. And basically I have that constantly consolidating. Jay always thinks the thing is about to take off because the fans kick in when it does it. But basically that's what's happening in the background, okay? And that's basically converting all of the memories into embeddings so that if we were to ever search for things, it would be able to go ahead and do that. Okay, so really, really cool stuff. Good question, really good question. Honestly, that was a question from earlier that I brought up to speed, right? Now, let's see, so we can see, to be honest with you, Ultra is absolutely overkilling this plan phase. It shouldn't really take this long for a plan. It's being extremely thorough, which is fine, I guess, but I guess it's okay for now. But let's go to our clerk. I just want to see, did it create one of our demos? So if we go to clerk, and also we have Convex is the one that I was going to check. So Convex, let's go to the dashboard, and I'm wondering if I don't think it would have created yet. Okay, run a command, and it's also automatically compacting as well. So I believe the context window here is 1,000,000. However, I'm not sure what it's set to inside of Codex. It looks like it wouldn't have been. It looks like it might have been up to only 300K or so. But in this case, I'm actually going to switch this down maybe to high or medium while we're in plan mode, because it shouldn't take this long for plan mode. But anyway, I'm doing one last current doc pass in the Vercel AI gateway AI elements and ShadCN and guidance, because Eve's generated web chat uses those pieces directly. These will lock the model setup and UI conventions before I finalize the build plan. But the one thing I will mention is it's better to take longer on the plan. Okay, so even now, I wouldn't consider this even that long, right? So this is something I'd recommend. If you're gonna set something to Ultra and you're gonna use the best model, stick it to the max while you're doing your plan, because your plan will be absolutely bulletproof. And then honestly, you could even use something like, it depends really. I haven't used these ones myself yet, but I believe Luna is better than Terra. So you could use like Luna to be the ones who actually build, or even like a cheaper model in that case, right, to do something. So in this case, you could do 5.6 for the plan, 5.6 Luna for the execution, right? And that's what a lot of people tend to do, by the way. They tend to have like Fable 5 for the planning, and then they end up using something like 5.6 Sol for the execution, in case you're wondering, right? So that way, because it's roughly about half the cost. Right? The architecture is now locked. I'm verifying the exact live Claude Sonnet 5 gateway, identifying the official clerk Eve contract. So I'm going to check one thing as well. So we're going to log into our Convex, and I'm also going to check on July 8th, Clerk and Eve released something like a first-class integration. So if that's true, that is damn cool, because when I shot my video, I didn't have that. So Clerk Eve, let's do Clerk Eve and we're going to do, Vercel Eve. Vercel Eve and Clerk integration. Let's do it. So let's see if there is. Get started with Clerk. Wow, okay, they did. This is why I love Clerk, right? Because this is very new, guys. Like I literally shot a whole video and I didn't see this. So this is brand new. Jay, it's crazy. Every time we do a video, they literally drop something in. We should make a whole video on this. Get started with Clerk and Eve. So built by Vercel, Eve is a file system first framework, and you can see that install the helpers via shadcn. Amazing. And we have lib, clerk-auth, index instructions, M2M tokens. Wow, okay. This is amazing, by the way. So I've done M2M tokens before, but this is something I didn't actually even think about. This is a must. Do this, right? Because what it's doing is every isolated agent now is getting an M2M token individually, which I think is absolutely incredible. I didn't even think of doing that. Clone Eve agents from working monorepo. Okay, it's a detailed walkthrough. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to actually copy this, and you can even copy it as markdown or the URL. I'm going to come back here. I'm just going to pop this one in. I'm going to say the following. I'm also going to change this to maybe just high because I think it's absolute overkill right now. Use this if haven't already. Okay, I'm going to steer the conversation as well. Okay, so because right now it's jumping into the deep rabbit holes, but it's actually, this is very good because this is all relevant. Like has plan pro is what I would have used and so forth. But we're going to let it do its thing now. Okay. But in this case, if you dive into it and you want to see what it's actually doing, most of the time it's just, I mean, it just looks like Ultra just spends ages on basically trying to figure out. I guess these sub-agents are all finished. Clerk docs, Convex docs. So these ones actually took a long time. So for example, you can see your research doc here worked for 5 minutes, went off on its own. And again, probably a good thing actually, Ultra actually spun these off. So rather than going and doing it itself, these were actually, so I thought these were something else, but this is actually agents that were spun off. Okay. And I'm wondering if these images actually resemble the model maybe, because this is all new based on, I'm wondering if that's actually a model or that's, I'm wondering if anyone knows, go ahead and let me know in the comments because this is pretty much got updated today. So I'm new to that as well. My architecture is not locked and verifying. Cool. So once this comes back, we can go ahead and kick the build off. All right. Somebody says, I took advice from your previous vid with superpower skill. It's amazing for my project planning. Absolutely. Superpower skill is awesome. Matt Pocock did another one called Grill Me, which is very good as well. But they all follow the same concept, just asking more questions. Right? They're really not that deep. They really just ask more questions in a loop until you basically have like explored all the outcomes and the kind of corner cases. NCR says, is there any way to keep track and monitor the agent actions, tools, token consumptions, etc. for validation, evaluation? For example, can we connect with Langsmith? So very good question. Okay. And I'm glad you guys are answering this stuff, are asking this stuff because while we're waiting for this is amazing, right? So he basically said, can we analyze the usage of this stuff, right? So that way we can see what's spending tokens, what's doing it all. And you absolutely can with Eve, right? So if you go to Evals in the documentation, go to overview, firstly, you can see how agent calls are performing, right? If there's like regressions and so forth. So in this case, you can have like eval tests, right? So in this case, like basic message and tool coverage, but what is the weather in Brooklyn? And then basically it can have a succeeded, call tool, check if the reply includes sunny and so forth, right? So you can have like test cases for your actual calls, but you can also inspect more into it when you actually run it. So while that is basically happening, while this plan it's almost done, but if we go to vercel.com, so I'm going to go over to Vercel and I'm going to hop into one of my builds. In this case, this was actually the demo I did. Now, if we go down to my AI gateway, not AI gateway, sorry, it's workflows. Right, so inside here, I can actually see the workflows kick off. Right, so this is when I was talking to the agent. In fact, it would have just been now, perhaps. So 18 minutes ago, yeah. So it was this one. So you see here, we can actually click into these, see the actual usage. So I can see like the amount of read tokens, write tokens, the cost for approximately as well. And remember, all of this, because this is data that's being returned in the dashboard, most likely is inside of the Vercel CLI. So imagine now I say to my Vercel, my agent who is authenticated with the Vercel CLI or Vercel MCP, I can now go ahead and be like, okay, go and check the workflows and see like what's costing me the most here. Like which part of this is costing me the most, okay? So in this case, it can go to this workflow and say, okay, yeah, that workflow actually cost you this much in dollars, right? Here's the input tokens, here's the output tokens. We can probably optimize over here, right? So in this case, this step took way too long for some reason, and I can see maybe the input, and it's all encrypted as well, which is pretty cool. I believe it will show us all of that stuff inside of the actual return response stuff. So in this case, I think it was in the payloads, not payloads. It's basically included here somewhere. I've definitely found it before, but you want to go ahead and dive into that. And that's going to be what you're looking for. Okay. Because basically from there, you can go ahead and see exactly what's being done, the cost and all that stuff behind it. Right. You can also dive into the sandboxes and see all of the sandboxes that kicked off. So in this case, look, you can see these sandboxes when they were used and the resources they used. Okay, so like this, for example, I can click into it. I can see, okay, this one ran for, let's see here, ran 18 minutes ago. It done a couple of things. I can see exactly the commands it did. And the estimated list price for this would have been 0.04 cents. So 4 cents to have that sandbox run. Okay. So really you can, and then maybe I don't need that many virtual CPUs. I can decrease the number and so forth. So yes, they give you a ton of tools in Vercel's observability layer. Okay. How much cost these sandbox chats? Yeah, they're very cheap. So you guys can see that for yourselves. And again, these stay warm. So basically like that, you don't have code start problems and so forth. Code start meaning if I don't chat for a while and I come back, it's going to take ages for the first message to come back, right? So the plan came back. Let's dive into it and let's see what's going on. So I click on the plan and let's go ahead and read it. So build a next.js web chat, blah, 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 blah. Implementation changes, scaffold and verify the current tool chain. So we're using Eve latest init. Yep. And it's going to set up with the channel. This basically sets up Eve with a really nice web next.js chat interface. And then we have the add Vercel Eve skills, MPX skills. Yep. Nice. Confirm, read the install skill plus, okay. Ensure the agent instructions and channels Eve exist. Add the document in type smoke test, get weather with defined tools. So this one we actually, we don't need the get weather, right? Okay, but configure clerk authentication and billing through the clerk CLI. So it's going to go ahead and init, right? So this is basically our clerk CLI now creating an application for us, right? And then it enables user billing, right? So in this case, it's going to go ahead, enable user billing, set up a pro plan in USD with no trial, $20 a month, right? Or a discounted rate if it's billed annually. I believe it's $200 annually. And then the benefits are, and these are basically the features it will unlock: AI shopping agent, personalized recommendations, and approval gated order and refund actions. Pull the live billing schema config with clerk config, patch it through a temporary file, blah, blah, blah. So basically it's going to go ahead and, this is amazing. This sets up our entire clerk dashboard for us from our agent, okay? Sets up the clerk provider and all that good stuff. And then it does clerk's Convex integration. Really nice. Then it's going to go ahead and use clerk's current Eve auth pattern. So this is actually from the clerk Eve custom auth guide, which by the way, was only released 2 days ago. That's how crazy relevant and new the channel is. We're trying our best to be like at the front of this stuff, right? So it was only released 2 days ago. And then apply this check. It's my first time actually using it, so it'll be pretty cool to do together. So we're not going to add these two. Now, if you're wondering what these are, this means that we can use our Vercel token if we're authenticated. We're going to basically say no. And local dev means, remember how we used it here inside of like a terminal UI? We're going to disable that. But you can actually just add this back inside of the Vercel Eve. So in this case, we go to our agents, eve.ts, like this right here, that opens on localhost for Eve dev. And it's ignored in production, okay? So you could actually, I would probably keep that, to be fair, but it's fine. We can always add it back in afterwards if we want to. And the reason why I'm assuming it's deleting it is because we're going to highly be reliant on the user being logged in. So that's probably going to be an important thing, okay? Session ID, clerk user ID, mapping in Convex from Eve session started event. User server only Convex HTTP bridge. All right, so in this case, we've got a few things going on. Convex data seeding, so we can leave that do its thing. Agent behavior, so it's going to create a couple of tools. So firstly, we don't need get weather, so we can get rid of that. We can say get rid of get weather. This is a waste of tokens. Get rid of get weather tool. We don't need that. List my order, get order, and we got place order, process refund, recommended products. Okay, so a couple of these. And then we have here approval gates. Nice, right? So we've got approval gates here. We could even say get recommendations exactly to reinstock products from cart and order history. We'll say for recommended products tool, make sure that we can ask questions. So check out the Vercel Eve docs and add in human in the loop questions. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm not hitting enter yet because I want to see if there's anything else I want to add. Vercel preview deployment, that's basically going to help us deploy, test plan, and so forth. Cool. Okay, so that's pretty much great to go, right? So I'll basically get everything set up. And then actually what I want to do is, Vercel Eve, I actually want to add one more thing in. I'm going to say something along the lines of, I want to showcase the sandbox part of it a bit more, right? So for this demo, I really want to highlight the sandbox element of Vercel Eve. So let's have some kind of calculation that the agent can do inside of the Vercel Eve sandbox that shows Python script executing. Find a good use case for this, right? It's a bit difficult because we're not on the admin side. We're basically doing it from the user side. So I'm trying to get the most in this teaching moment as I can. So Vercel Eve sandbox. So we're going to let that come up with a demo for this, okay? The main thing is I want to show you the actual how it works. And if you're wondering, well, he talked about a lot about the channels as well, like, you know, the speaking from Slack and so forth, right? Why isn't he not doing that? Well, we can do that, right? Afterwards, we can absolutely jump into that. In fact, while that's loading, I'll show you how the channels work. So if we go to get started, let's go over to channels. And if you see here, look, diving into channels, you can see overview. So Eve is basically the configuration, right? So basically the base HTTP API for our agent. So how we can communicate from an API perspective. And then we got Slack, and very, very easy to set up Slack, right? You can even go through the OAuth flow, by the way, right? So the OAuth flow is very, very simply done. And what happens is when it basically pops up and asks you to authenticate, if you're wondering how you manage it, if we go over to, you see here where we have connect. If I click this, you can see, look, it basically, once you authenticate, you will have this, like a Vercel test bot, for example. And it's really good because typically, if you've ever set up some kind of Slack agent bot or something, like we use Slack a ton in the business, you would have to set up the Slack bot, you'd have to go get the key, you'd have to do everything else, you have to wire it all up and make sure you didn't break anything. And most of the time you end up screwing one thing up. Now, you genuinely run one command, which your agent can even do, which it does, it's going to do it for us. And then basically it sets the entire bot up for you because it's basically uploading a manifest to Slack bot and it basically does it. And then it gets all, because this is now inside of Vercel Connect, it has access to all of the credentials. And then basically it can go ahead and hook everything up for you. So you can see I've installed it into a workspace. And then this is an example of how it's called, right? And you can do user tokens, you can do app tokens, or user authorization, right? So really, really awesome stuff. Like it's so easy to get this set up, right? And then back to the docs while that's happening. I was going to go to, where is it? Here. Yeah. So let's go back to the channels. Yeah, so that's basically going to be the Slack channel, right? Now, of course, you can get really detailed with this, with linear and these kind of things. So you can do some pretty cool things over there. You guys can feel free to do that yourself. Or the chat SDK is basically where you can really get into it at a granular level and basically set things up at a bespoke level. So if you really need like custom controls and all that stuff, you can go ahead and do it with the chat SDK itself, right? Now, connections is the only thing that I'm missing here that I think we could add in afterwards, right? Which is basically how can we have MCP connections to that specific agent, right? So what we'll do eventually is once we're done, I'm basically going to hide a couple of the tools, not so it's on the agent, but I'm going to fake it so it's on like the next.js app and it's an MCP server itself. And then I'm basically going to expose the tools and we're going to have that agent make a connection to this like dummy MCP server that we've created. And it'll basically be able to pull the tools in to us, right? So you can see here, it shows us how to run all the auth flows. So for example here, per connection approval, interactive OAuth using Vercel Connect, which is what we showed before. And this is basically the MCP way for like linear. We also have self-hosted interactive OAuth in case you're, again, self-hosted. A lot of you have asked that today. But there's tons of stuff you can do, okay? As well as sub-agents, right? So you can see you can kind of build out a really powerful agent from this, right? Even the isolation boundary. And then also what the parent sees. So this is quite important. The parent meaning the main orchestrator agent. So they're going to see the built-in agent tool inherited. This is basically going to be inherited. So the declared sub-agent inherits nothing from the root's authored slots. This discovery treats this directory as its own agent root. Okay, so I believe the parent gets the let's have a look. So Eve lowers every sub-agent into a model visible tool with the same message output as parent packs message. Okay, in case increase or lower that limit by. What you can do is when you set up your agent, you can have a max sub-agent depth. So if you've ever wondered what happens if it gets into like an infinite loop, right? What you can do is you can actually say, okay, I only want to limit like a max sub-agent depth of 4 in case it tries to spawn another agent and that spawns another agent and that spawns another agent and you get into this crazy loop, okay? So right now, Mina Lee says, is your 0 to AI Hero opened and waiting for the next batch? So we're currently waiting for the next batch of students to join in. So if you join in now, we're going to open it in waves. So you can join in the wait list now, and then when we open the door for you, it'll open that wave, you can join in, and then we're going to close the doors, and we're going to keep on doing it like that for a couple of times to make sure that we can control the kind of, the quality of all the students inside. Right, we've done that for 0 to full stack here, and it worked amazing. Right, so this looks really good. Okay, the only thing that I want to change to the plan, which I know we want to get started here, but I really want to do one more thing, is add a couple of sub agents here for this demonstration. They could be anything from like recommendation sub agent or whatever the case, but add a couple of sub agents with their own tools. Make sure to do this the Vercel Eve way. Oh my God, Vercel, to do this the Vercel Eve way. And I literally will babysit it like this, right? And then once that's done, we're going to literally kickstart that off in ultra mode. And then I promise you, it'll be done it'll be done pretty quick. So that's the cool thing about this part. So it's going to basically, what I can imagine is going to happen here is any of these ultra modes are very, very good at delegating. So in this case, we could have, sub agents being built out at the same time as we're doing the back end, at the same time as we're doing the front end design, at the same time that we're setting clerk up, at the same time that we're setting Convex up. You can spin off a ton of sub agents. So we're going to do that when we kickstart this off. Sunny need locked in house and run app dev until first paid user live show. I'm not sure what you mean, dude, but I think it's a good thing. In this case, we're going to say also for the plan. I don't know if I want to interrupt it again. I think we'll let it do its thing, and then I'm going to go ahead and say the orchestrate in a parallel way afterwards. Quick little water break, and then hopefully once this plan is done, we can dive into it. Oh, I just realized who sent the message. Passion Brains, what's up? Every live stream you show up, it's awesome. Okay, so I guess the only other thing I was looking at is schedules. When I showed you how they work, very, very simple, but it's very powerful. And then of course the evals as well, a few other things. So, but in this case, you can really dive into all this stuff, but it's quite cool. We can see here dynamic workflows. This is amazing. Look at this, the experimental workflow tool. Let the model orchestrate its own sub-agents from model auth to JavaScript as one durable step. What does this look like, guys? This looks like how Claude does workflows, as well as how GPT 5.6 Soul can do workflows. So you can literally, it's experimental now, because I guess it's like they're trying to get this right. But if we dive into this, look, you can actually have it so it would spin up sub-agents. So look at this. Even each tool analyst call dispatches a child sub-agent. So the parent stream records one sub-agent called per metric. And if we see here that for all of the metrics, tools.analyst. So in this case, I guess this is going to basically go ahead and trigger off a sub-agent. And dispatches a child sub-agent. So you can basically programmatically have it. So like say, for example, I want to make sure that as I'm going to go ahead and create a summary for a company report or a filing, if I know that making that summary is really important, but it takes a bit of time to do, then I can basically go ahead and programmatically say, okay, every time I ask for that filing, go ahead and spin up 8 sub-agents, and I want you to go ahead and basically 8 sub-agents, which have all of them are going into different corners of the business and getting all of our metrics. And then you have basically that's like 8 times faster, essentially. Whilst, yes, you'll burn the token used for that, but it's worth knowing how to do that. Okay. So this is very, very powerful. I love that. Okay. And then you can also go ahead and say you did that, and it was like, I don't know, it had like 20 sub-agents. If you limited the max sub-agents to 4, you would have a loop that would basically have it so once one finishes, it will spin up the next one. Once finishes, it will spin up the next one, and it will handle the entire orchestration until resolution. Okay, so interesting live lessons. I'm doing the same things with Convex Clerk. Oh, nice. Awesome, dude. I'm glad you guys are enjoying this new format. Let me know in the comments right now while it's loading. Do you guys prefer this format over live stream builds, like where I'm just teaching these kind of concepts? Because I feel like it's way better instead of doing what we're doing, right? So implement this plan. I'm going to say, yes, implement this plan using a work. So let's say using, how can I do this? I can say yes. I'm going to say, okay, yes, implement this plan, but do it with lots of parallel orchestrated agents as you're on ultra mode. Okay, I'm going to do next, and I'm going to quickly change this to ultra. Cool. Right, I don't care about the usage, it's fine. We can even maybe stick it on let's see, because I've got so many resets. Let me see if I can maybe, for you guys, I might do this video. Let's see, where's my usage at? My usage and billing. Let's do pro plan, Weekly usage, 79% left. Yeah, screw it. Let's go fast mode. Okay, so I'm gonna go into this. I'm gonna go into speed, standard, boom. So now it's in fast mode, ultra. So I'm curious, is it actually gonna be faster, right? Let's have a look. So now we're gonna go ahead and do 5.6 ultra, and we're on 79% usage. So I'm totally happy if we burn through it, it's fine. I just wanna see if this actually will make it faster, okay? And what I like about this as well, if you see like when you press Command B, a lot of you, when you use this, I notice you keep the sidebar open. Press Command B and close the sidebar and you get this nice little extra bit of information on the side, right? And you can also toggle that by doing this. But you see how it looks different? So if you press Command B, it will always be up. And that's kind of handy when you're basically trying to review what's going on and so forth, yeah? Okay, so let's see. So it's working, writing the plan, parallel implementation plan. Oh, okay, it's writing a second plan, I guess. Okay, that's fine. Using 2 distinct forms of agent. Okay, so I guess I was still in plan mode, so it has to do that, and then I accept the plan. I think I've got this question a few times before. What browser are you using? I'm using the Arc browser. Used to be my favorite. I feel like it's not being updated as much, and I feel like it could be better. So I'm not like set in stone with it, but I do like it at the moment. Okay. So before parallel work, so what it's done is it's created a parallel workflow. So foundation gate, all of them need this, right? Then it's got wave 1, where it's basically going to go ahead and dispatch 3 different workers. Then it's got wave 2, 3 different workers, wave 3, and so forth. But again, it's going to do a recommendation analysis subagent, commerce operator scout. Interesting. So I'm just wondering if it's done 1 read only account tools, and then the scout. Okay, interesting. Oh, I see. So it's going to have recommendation analyst, also have scout tools. Oh, nice. You can have inheritance from the previous, I believe. I'm not sure if you can do that, but if you can, that's very powerful. Okay. So let's go ahead and kick this one off. So implement this plan. Yes. And now's the fun part. We basically wait and we watch it, right? So we basically let it do its thing. Now it's going to go ahead and build everything. All right. So BOS says, yeah, they've stopped adding features to Arc since they pivoted to DR, using Arc now and shopping around for new replacements. Yeah, it's definitely the case, right? I also, well, what's up, dude? I see you. Right. So step 1 of 7. So now you can see I'm using the clerk setup, CLI, billing, next.js, testing skills from the identity boundary plus the Vercel next. And let's see if it's actually faster, right? So we're in fast mode right now. It does look a bit faster, I'll be honest. It's kind of like, it tends to fly through a little bit more. I wouldn't say it's double speed, but it says it's 1.5 speed, right? And I believe you're paying double usage here. So if we go over to our usage and billing, this will run through quicker, okay? But the cool thing is this resets at 1407. So we might as well burn through it as much as we can right now. So the whole token maxing thing lately is pretty fun, especially when you've got resets. So I've got 3 account resets, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Okay. Yeah, dude, don't spam the chat, otherwise Jay's just going to block you. I see all the chat anyway, so I can see you guys there. And feel free to ask more questions, because this is a great time to feel free to throw questions my way. So in this case, it's reading all the skills, basically getting all the context loaded so it can begin doing the development side of things. And again, this first step is the most crucial step, okay? So you can do a couple of things here. Now, the actual setup process, this is mad overkill. Just so you're aware, 5.6 or so in ultra mode, in fast mode is mad overkill, right? You do not need to do that. Right? You can pretty much do it in, I'd say Luna would be able to do this, right? Again, even 5.5 would absolutely have no problem in doing any of this. Sonnet 5 would probably do this, right? But we're just trying to see if it can really get the whole thing set up in one go, as opposed to, okay? Didn't ask about how you doing, bro. Hope you're well. I don't know if you're asking Jay or me, but I appreciate it. Doing good, thank you. The documented foundation checks are complete. I'm scaffolding the root app now. Once Eve has generated its next web chat and dependencies, I'll immediately install read the Eve skill and bundle docs before any custom code is written. Okay, so it's going to go ahead and run the commands now. And you can see like npx Eve, latest init, and it's setting up the web next.js, right? So in this case, this is going to set up the entire project for us now. Okay. When it uses npx, you know it's going to be using the latest one because we didn't install it globally. So in case you're wondering, that's what npx typically does. It grabs the latest version of Eve hence why it's using Eve at latest as well. Right, so basically both are going to ensure that we're using the latest because it's going to go to the root source of where Eve is hosted, and then it's going to use at for the version control, and then it uses init. So in case you ever wonder if you're running like Eve at latest because you ran it globally installed, but it wasn't using the latest one, it's because you either need to update your globally installed instance or just use npx or pnpm dlx or pmpx. Right, there's a couple that you can use. Right, quick little water break. And one thing I do want to do as well, I'm going to press Command J, and I'm going to see if I type in pwd. So I'm in my documents. Okay, so it's made it at the top level. No, that's fine. We can do cursor. Let's do ls. So I just want to see. Okay, so it started building. So this is the fun part. If we do cursor dot, now I'm going to go ahead and spin up this. And I like to have cursor open, the editor view, open in the side, just so I can see what's going on. Because I hate not knowing what's happening. Yeah. So firstly, we've got brand new branch, right? So it's already doing a lot. Okay, so 43 file changes. We can see we've got the lib, utils. Okay, so it's basically set up shadcn. I can tell at this point because we've got the UI. These are a bunch of shadcn installs, node modules. It just ran an install command. It's doing, I don't know if it did. Is it doing pnpm or is it doing verify the project type structure, adapt the model and provider to the user's data and use case, and don't commit unless the user asks. Eve scaffold is still installing its dependency set. There's no prompt or failure, just a small quiet install phase. I'm keeping the process attached. Start the first backend wave as soon as the generator project is stable. Okay. So in this case, we dive into AI elements. Let chain of thought, code block, conversation, message. This, by the way, is all through that initial setup. So if I showed you, how do I close this one? Yeah, get rid of this. Right. So when we actually went ahead and set this up, what's this one saying? Our systems are thinking a bit more about this request before hang tight and retry the fast model for a quicker response. Okay, no, leave that, it's fine. So this entire thing here that we have is basically scaffolding for Vercel Eve. So if you go to getting started and we go down to here, you'll see they have a nice like quick start guide, which is basically this one here. Type a message and watch model loop run. Pass channel web next.js to add the web chat application. So it's basically on that very simple scaffolding, and it's all based off shadcn. Okay. Abrito goes, this is good stuff. Watching from Cabo Verde. Keep up the good work. I appreciate you, dude. Thank you so much. Right. I love this because honestly, I get to like teach live as opposed to just doing something which I felt became repetitive, which was the builds. Like I feel like we're past it now. I feel like everyone can do a lot of this kind of cool stuff. So now it's more important to go to the technical, in-depth stuff. So really appreciate it. And it's also worth mentioning that yes, this video is always going to go up live straight away after I'm done, and we timestamp it incredibly quick because I have a Hermes agent that basically me and Jay we've tweaked it out, so it's awesome. It pulls the entire video and transcripts everything and throws up the timestamp. So it's pretty awesome how it does it. Now, use Convex integration, loaded a tool, read the files, and ran a command. Right? Add Convex to an existing project. And that's why I'm more curious actually. Did it add it to an existing project or did it create one? Let's have a look. So let's dive into it. So proxy to root. Okay, so let's have a look if actually we should have created a new project, but let's have a look. So I've got a few dummy projects here. Select team. No. Let's go to my clerk. And in a moment, we should have it over here as well. Oh, yeah, Ultimate Agent Demo. So you see how the clerk CLI created this. And also what you'll see is billing. So right now, I haven't enabled billing. And I'm going to keep it here just to prove a point. So it's going to do this through the clerk CLI. Okay. We used Vercel integration. So Vercel is now linked to the intended YouTube project team. And local OIDC is provisioned. So what that means is an OIDC is if I go into here, I'm just going to double check something quickly. Yeah, so it did. So I'm going to kind of cover my token. So I'm in my environment local file. And what it does is it gave me an authentication token into my environment file because it has access to CLI. So that is known as an OIDC token, right? So like created by Vercel CLI, right? And then if I go ahead and just double check something, because I don't want you to see that token because it's sensitive. It also added in my clerk secrets, my next public clerk sign-in URLs, and everything else in between. So yeah, it's basically setting everything up really nice. Right? Coming back over here. And then I guess while that's happening, let's also see if it would definitely have created me what's it called? I'm always confused because I have so many different accounts here. Oh, it would have been in my team account, I believe. Probably in my team account, but either way, we'll see in a sec. Let's go ahead and look at Vercel now. So if we go to my Vercel, I'm gonna start closing some of these out because I've got so many. Let's see here. So if I go to overview, this is my live deployment for a test I did. So all projects, ultimate agent demo. See how the Vercel CLI went ahead and set this one up for me. So boom, now we have a Vercel deployment or project set up. And effectively we go into our AI gateway. What we're effectively going to do here is we're going to create a key afterwards. And this is basically going to be how our agent is going to get access to the models. Right? So this could be OpenAI, Anthropic, Gemini. And you can see all we need to do is swap the model once. And we basically just give in the AI gateway key. So you see process.m.ai gateway API key. So just by having that in our environment variables, by creating this key, pasting it in there, it will be done, right? And I also have some credits as well, so we can go ahead and screw around with this, okay? Now, after this, let's see what's going on. So you see it's doing quite a lot under the hood. Look, it's enabled billing in Clerk. So this is what I like you guys to check, right? So this is amazing. Look, enable billing, config schema. It's pulling the config, and now it's uploading the billing schema, which means it just uploaded the, what's it called? The billing plans. So if I refresh here, let's check. Look, billing is now enabled. I didn't do that. We go to configure, we go to billing, we go to settings of subscription plans. Boom, it created the plan. So it done pro. And I mean, it did a bit of a weird number here, it done 1667. So it'll bill us $200.04, which is very specific. So you can probably go ahead and you can change that if you want, but it's fine for now. You can just say $16 a month. But the point is you get a discount for paying upfront annually. And it added 3 features that we can actually check inside of our code against, right? So the way this works is Clerk has very nice functions. So you can say Clerk has docs, basically. So if we go to Clerk has billing. So I like to do it like this. Then we go to Clerk billing. You guys can see here, go to billing for B2C customers. And then you can see we have the pricing table, which will load a pricing table. You can also have a fully custom one, but this is the check we typically do, right? So has, and then we pass in the plan. Okay, so say let's has plan pro, this will resolve to true. Okay, so now I can do a quick inline check to be like, has this user got pro? Boom, it'll tell me or not, right? We can also do based on feature. So those features that you saw a second ago, those 3 features that got added to pro, you can either check at that granular level. Now, why would I recommend you do features over plan? Because then your source of truth is the Clerk dashboard. So now, let's say if I just did by plan, then I have to go in and actually change code if I ever want to remove a feature from a specific plan. Whereas if I do everything by feature, it will basically mean that I can go into my Clerk dashboard and I can just toggle which features are in which plan, and the app will in real time update. So that's what I'd recommend. But there's no right or wrong, right? In the end of the day, for most people, just having the plan is enough. But in case you're wondering why they'd give you both options, that's typically why, okay? So in this case, we have that. And we also have show. So show is basically a wrapper component. We can wrap children components. In this case, like we've got 2 tags here. And then it says show when the plan is bronze, or a fallback shows. And this is really handy for things like a upgrade banner or an upgrade prompt to say like, hey, you need to upgrade to access this tool, right? So you can go ahead and do it either in either of those approaches, right? You can either have your server-side check, and you can do it server-side or client-side, as well as the show component. Okay, so they've really upgraded this quite nicely. And you've got some really cool things that they keep on adding here. Like you've got the B2B billing. You can feel free to read this out yourself. But you've got free trials as well. So in this case, you can have like a 3-day free trial and so forth. Seat-based plans is awesome. So in this case, if I want to charge per seat, you can do that with B2B. And account credits is very new. And I'm going to be dropping a video all about this. But basically, you can basically top up accounts or give like bonus credits and all that stuff. So imagine like someone can have a credit balance of $50, but we charge them, let's say 20, their remaining credit is 30, right? And say they had a problem in the app and I wanted to say sorry and I wanted to give them extra credits. I can go into their account, literally go ahead to their user and additionally increase their credits. So that way they won't get billed in future or until it'll run down from the credits. Okay. Now you can see that wave 1 is starting now. This is amazing. One owner owns every Eve runtime or sub agent. One owner owns the Clerk trust boundaries and the Eve channel, and one owner owns the Convex data and e-commerce, right? None may run package managers or external resource CLIs and are all coding against the shared schemas I just published, right? So in this case, we've got each of these 3 agents. So when you see this UI in Codex, this is what it resembles, and we can click into it and we can actually dive into what each of those sub-agents are doing, right? So now you can see what each one is doing. And I'm curious what this is for though. Like, I wonder what the, like, do these logos have any meaning, or is it just, I guess, because this one and this one have the same logo. So I'm wondering if that means anything, or it's just just a different logo. But I'd be curious. It'd be cool if it told you like the different model, perhaps, but it doesn't say anything at the moment. Right, so while the 3 implementers work, I'm using the Convex CLI's existing project selector to see whether my repo has already a safe, dedicated project on the requested team. The quote and neutral path work. Convex created the requested Ultimate Agent demo project under Sunny Sanga. So now we go to my Convex, we hit a refresh. Hey, there it is. Like Ultimate Agent demo. So you see how my CLI stuff is working? It's awesome, right? Oh no, what's this one? You can upgrade your account limits. I think it still works, or is it not? Oh, okay. So what we need to do here is I'm going to quickly delete one of my old ones. So this was for a demo we did, AI dating app. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. Delete this one, boom. And now if we go over here, let's see, sale provision here, because I've used up all of the 40 accounts. So hopefully it shouldn't freak out about that now. Convex backend, let's see, search the web. Hopefully it didn't get stopped by that part. Now it should work. Clerk is now fully linked, billing is configured, and the CLI exposed the development issue needed by Convex. I'm wiring only non-production environment values next through Convex and Vercel CLI. Secret values will stay out of command, output, and source control. Perfect, right? So I want to show you what's happening there. If we go to Convex here, we go to the ts config. In a second, it will add a auth.config.ts, I believe, where we're going to have a nice integration with clerk. Although I don't know if we actually need to do that anymore. Oh no, it hasn't set it up here. So clerk provider. So maybe one of the sub-agents is going to do that. So I think it will do that here. Because what this basically is a clerk and Convex. So if we type in clerk Convex integration, you will have a really nice first-class integration here. Let me go and just change the music a bit. I'm going to let's start it again. Okay. So integrate Convex with clerk. This is basically how you would go and set it up. And you can do it from here, or you can do it with the through the dashboard, or your CLI can do it. I'm curious to see how this is resolving, because it didn't actually add that. I'm wondering, one, if we actually need that, or two, if it figures that out on its own that it's going to need that. Okay. So, and notice, I want to pay attention to one big thing as well. So you have one main orchestrator agent. Okay. So it's a very, very important concept here. The one on my left, to your main chat. This is the main orchestrator agent. And you notice how even the agent that we're building right now in Eve, it will have one main orchestrator agent, okay? Then we have sub-agents. So this is 3 sub-agents that have spun off, which is why we see it in the sub-agents panel, right? So these 3 sub-agents are working right now. When that happens, we can still talk to our main orchestrator agent. So these are like background processes that are kind of running. And then when these finish, they resolve into our main orchestrator agent, and then that decides how to proceed forward. But this is really important because a lot of you might still be stuck in the whole thinking of, I have to wait till one agent finishes something, then I proceed to the next one, then I proceed to something, then I proceed to something, when you could be doing dev way faster if you have the budget for it. Right, so let's go ahead and check on our usage at the moment and see how it's run down. So we are on, oh, it just reset. So now we're back at 99. Okay, so that's amazing. Okay, so now we're going to absolutely hammer this and stay on Ultra. And I'm wondering if this is actually going to bill me in fast mode, or it's actually going to charge me. That's one thing I'm curious about, is does the usage, I mean, I don't have credits on the account besides this. So it will either bill me now, in which case, Jay, if you can go into our OpenAI account, just check it. Am I getting billed for this? I just want to check one thing. Or is it using our plan? I believe it is using our plan, but Claude doesn't. So in case you ever wonder, Claude, when you go to do fast mode, it will switch to API usage credits. So in case you ever thought, oh no, it's barely running down. No, you're getting billed behind the scenes when you go to double mode. I made that mistake and I spent quite a lot quickly. The model and sandbox assumptions are now live. Verified Sonnet 5 is currently on AI Gateway, OIDC as the Vercel deployment auth path, and deny all is a supported sandbox network policy. So you see this one here. This is stopping our agent from going out to the internet. Okay, so if we go over here now and we go to the Ultimate Agent demo, well, firstly, we got loads of new add-ons. So in this case, auth-config is now connected. So we have clerk JWT issuer domain. This is basically the integration, which means our layout should have the provider pattern. So yeah, it's here. Yeah, Convex provider with clerk. So they did set it up, right? They're very extensive here. This is a bit of overkill, to be honest. You don't need to have that much going on there, but I guess it's fine. And then the other thing that I wanted to check was so we got the seed data being prepared as well. So for some dummy information, look at this. It's basically created a bunch of fake products it's going to go ahead and use. And then it was, deny all. So if we go to Eve now, so our agent, we'll see our channels, eve.ts. We can see here that we've got clerk, Eve auth. So this is actually how it's connecting clerk up to it. And in this case, I want to show you, where was it? It was inside of agent.ts. So, or instructions. So it's set somewhere, deny, I believe it could have been in here actually. So, no, it wasn't here. It was, oh wow, look at that. We've got loads of tools. So we've got bash, check, reform eligibility. Look at that. It's already created all these tools. Amazing, right? So it's already done all of this. Wow, that was very fast. Okay. Recommendation analysis, analyst. So we've got agent TS. And the main thing is, right, even no matter how complicated it gets, I can understand everything here. It was a sandbox. That was it. So my whole point about this entire new way of building agents, it's not about this is the only way or the best way. It's just like, this is the way that makes sense to me, because now, even after we've got tons of sub-agents, I can always very quickly understand exactly what is going on. The recommendation analyst only has these tools. It has the setup of this right here. The instructions MD define what it does here. And the sandbox.ts says that it has no outbound internet access. So basically network policy denial. Okay. So just from this, I can see immediately exactly what's going on. Right. So that for me is the real win here. Right. It's disabling as well things like agent TS, bash is disabling, glob, grep is disabling a lot of the sandbox things here. So these are all by default. You don't need all of these, by the way. But in this case, it said like, okay, we're only going to restrict it to allow it to do the minimum of what we allow it to do. So you could actually go ahead and not have these. So it could go ahead and, do its own little custom thing. But in this case, I guess we're disabling them here. You don't need to do that. That's a bit overkill, in my opinion, but you can fix that afterwards. Okay. So the wide-looking Eve tools are deliberate. Disable tools sentinels required by Eve. They remove default shell file system web and copy agent abilities. File runtime will therefore expose narrow tools in the approved Scout. Will therefore only expose the narrow tools in the approved Scout recommendation commerce map. So basically, it's trying to, like, we got a question earlier about security. That's one way that you could do that. So these are tools, by the way, which are automatically granted for the agent. So if you look inside the documentation, you'll find that if we go to Vercel Eve documentation, so over here, we go to get started, there's a couple of tools. If we go into tools over here, you can see there's these ones. Where is it? There was a bunch of tools which are automatically defined. They are, so if we type in bash, I believe, so sandbox, yeah. So you can see that the model already has shell and file access through the default tools. Run a shell command in the sandbox, read, write, find files by pattern, search file contents. In my opinion, we should keep it so it can use that. I don't know why it disabled that. So here I'm going to say we should keep the default. So we should keep the default tools because this could be useful if our agent wanted to do any form of calculation locally inside of its isolated sandbox. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that through, right? Because sometimes it can be a bit overkill on the secure side, but again, you could argue as well that that's safer. But in this case, maybe I want it to do some kind of, like, I don't know, maybe it wants to do a quick Python script to figure out why I'm comparing one product against another in a specific, unique way. And in that case, we're blocking it by getting rid of those default tools. Wave 1's even clerk portions have passed my source review and are wrapping up. Convex workers have now landed the account catalog and so forth. All good with billing. Oh, nice. Awesome stuff, Jay. So we see usage. Yeah, look at that. It's drilling down. Okay. So it's definitely using it. So we used up quite a bit there. But it doesn't matter. We've got loads. So wave ones, even cloud positions, password. Okay, so you can see, look, the Pro is exactly $20 a month or $16.67 billed annually. No trial, and the 3 agents features are attached. 2 verified development users now exist for later free versus Pro. One thing I've found with GPT 5.6 So as well is I've always found this, but GPT 5.5 it started to do this really well, and then 5.6 I feel really confident with this. It's like the workhorse. If you put a task on GPT 5.6 So and you basically just say, okay, go, it will safely get there. Whereas opposed to Opus sometimes is a bit more like gung-ho. It will get there, and it does like a very good, especially like the high level thinking. It will really nicely break down, especially creatively. I'm yet to play with So 5.6 enough to know what the designs are like. Opus is a killer and Fable is amazing for that. But in my opinion, so far, 5.6 So has been the most trustworthy in terms of execution, especially when it has tons of different sub-agents being spawned off. Like this flow has ran really nicely, and it's kept me informed of every single step of what's happening the entire way. Okay, so wave 1 Convex backend, you can see like it's doing a ton of stuff here. So wave 1 Eve runtime, this one I believe actually went ahead. Let's have a look. So you see agent updated, edited a file, Convex bridge. So we can see it's added in a ton of stuff in the Convex bridge. And this Convex bridge is basically going to be for how it can, an isolated agent can communicate with our Convex backend securely. The first Eve discovery run found one concrete file system issue. Hook event names may contain dots, but hook file names may not. I'm renaming the ownership hook to a legal slug while keeping a subscribed event as session started. Okay, so this is wave 1, and then we'll shift over to wave 2. Now, if we dive over to Convex, let's have a look. Go to our data. We can see, so nothing's actually been deployed yet. If we go to functions, nothing's been deployed yet. But I believe we'll be in development right now, unless it's, I don't think it would have deployed yet. But we can have a look. So data, okay, so it hasn't actually ran Convex yet. So it finished the sub-agent. So wave 1 now type checks cleanly. Eve discovery is ready with 0 diagnostics, and the Eve production build passes. I'm seeding the deterministic Convex dataset now, then I'll verify the exact 30-10-10 refund invariance directly through the Convex CLI. So what it's doing now is it's basically importing. Now, we're probably wondering here that we can't see any data being poured in, right? Well, chances are it's probably doing this through a local deployment, which is why I can't see it. So in this case, I hope that's the reason. Otherwise, usually we could see, oh no, it's team deployments. Okay, yeah, it's doing it locally then. So if you do it locally, so this is actually running completely locally. So in this case, seed transaction passed, and the second run completely correctly returned already seeded. Local Convex process exits after one check once. I'm starting the persistent CLI dev process now. Okay. So, because you can run Convex like local on the dev machine, so you have like a local database, or you can run it against a local development cloud. Kind of can get a bit confusing there, but just in case that clears it up. Right, and then also here I'm gonna say, use the Convex development cloud instance. Okay, and what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna push these in. So submit without interrupting them. I'm gonna push these 2 in as well, just so we can make sure that they get there. Say, okay. Because right now I can't see much unless I go to, oh no, we can, no, sorry, I can see it. It wasn't running, that was a problem. So yeah, so we can actually even do that. So that's absolutely fine. We didn't need to, I'm checking the even too. Okay, so we could have actually ignored that, all right? So you see that, that's kind of cool. So it actually shows the local dev ones as well. So even if you are running it locally on a dev, you see how it said allow, loop back, it means allow access to my local. So in this case, I can go to products, and we can see that it's seeded in a bunch of products. Okay, same for refunds, same for profiles, and then eventually we'll have users as well, like clerk user ID, right? So these basically will be like dummy profiles. Okay, so I'll switch to Convex Development Cloud for the final runtime. The requested Sunny is currently rejecting the cloud. Okay, we did that though. So we'll say we fixed the 40 declined projects. It works now. So, but continue using local, it's fine, right? Unless you need to shift to dev cloud, as I fixed it. So I'm just going to go ahead and push this in because if you do local, the only thing that I know that doesn't work very well in local, I don't think it's supported, is HTTP actions. So like if you want to deploy like a cloud function, and we're going to maybe need that as well when we start having clerk users get added. Okay, perfect. This is the right moment to shift. Stopping the temporary local, creating, selecting the, there we go. Then I'll sync the schema, bridge, secret, clerk, issuer, seed data, and Vercel preview environment through the CLIs. So you see it killed it, and now it's switching to dev. And in a moment, we should see, boom, a bunch of tables flying. So it's switching our models over now. Okay, so persistent correlation retrying layer. I think it should have got past this. Let's check our usage as well, just as a quick check. So, oh, okay. So that's very weird. I went back to 99. I didn't use a reset either. Maybe OpenAI is looking at this video right now and they're resetting it, but that's crazy. Okay. Also, I see this. This is new. I don't know what this is, but interesting. All right, wave 1 is complete. Convex, Cogen, Seed, TypeScript, Next Build, Eve Discovery, Eve Build, all passes. Now it's spinning up wave 2. So it'll kickstart another 3 sub-agents to go ahead and carry on. Okay. So defining UI ownership and auth strategies. So at this point now is where I would start diving into this. Now, what I would recommend, which we didn't do well here at all, is we should have been committing like at certain intervals. So commit also to avoid one huge commit. I'm gonna go ahead and push that in the mix as well. So really, you should be having like commits, yeah, because right now this is kind of all happening on local, which is not a good way to do it. We did it in the last video where we showed you Git work trees happening in parallel, but for the sake of today, it's okay. Right? But in this case, look at that. Wave 2 product UI. I guess it's just different avatars to showcase, okay, I guess it's easier to see different agents happening. I'll commit in logical slices. I'm briefly pausing the wave 2 workers, committing the verified foundation. That's better. So now we should see, if we see the graph here, we should see in a moment a couple of commits here being staged. So it's already staging a bunch. And then we should start seeing a commit history. So you really want to make sure you do that instead of having 118 file changes in one go. Okay. And then it will go ahead and continue on. So that is preparing the files, checking a git diff, so it knows which files are inside the staged files that it's going to commit, and then it will go ahead and push it in. Okay. So in a moment it will go, yep, there you go. So I guess it pushed everything in one, but there you go. It's fine. But it will know at least now to continue on. But yeah, that's a huge commit. So really you shouldn't do it in one massive one like that. Yeah. Now it will resume the workers. So design selective stages. Selective staging for split commits. We could even say here, use Git work trees to avoid any potential clashes. But I want to see how it resolves it on its own. This is also a test. Like I want to actually see how it's doing it on its own. Thread limit constraints. What's this one saying? Because if playing Convex, okay, here we go. So I also really like the UI for GPT's new Codex, because this is very clean. So this is, in my opinion, is the cleanest of the workflow views, because Claude Code's workflow view is a bit like, it's okay, but you just see these little dots for when everything spins up. Whereas this is a bit more like, just a bit more simple to understand what's going on. I understand the other one in the terminal, but this is a bit more like easy to, it's a bit more consistent in terms of our main chat to our sub agent. So we can see our clerk security chat. So I'm switching to test eval where I'm using clerks. Install testing skills plus the Convex test and Eve eval. The suite exercises real current APIs and records explicit skips for unavailable cloud fixtures. So basically this is now going to check against the who has access to it. So it's basically going to make sure that the people who don't have access to it get cut off and so forth. Right? Okay. So Jay, that's so strange with my usage. I wonder if, okay, no, I guess it went back down. Yeah, really weird. Crazy. Okay. Wave 2 is running with all 3 implementation. I'm retrying the Convex cloud deployment. In case the team quota need a short propagation rate. If it still fails, I'll keep the local verification path and retry before preview. So So I wonder if that's failing because of this. I don't think it should though. I think it's all good. This project is like Gemini Gem Robots. I'm not sure what you mean. And if you're wondering, I have a whole video about Vercel Eve coming out, which basically literally deep dive into just that part and the different areas of it. So I think you guys will really like that if you enjoyed this so far, right? So this one hasn't ran yet, but if we go over here, Convex Cloud is now available. Selecting the project's default deployment animated cardinal, so we can see here, and in which case it will start running in a sec. So configuring Convex deployment via CLI, and it's going to update our environment variables. This is good. And one thing you should know is when you have environment variables with Convex, the functions that get deployed, when you access environment variables from there, you set your environment variables here, not in your m.local, but in here. And these change based on what environment you're in. So if I'm in production, I push them here. If I'm in development, I push them here and so forth. That way I can separate different environment variables from like my clerk deb instance and clerk production instance and so forth. And the Eve Convex bridge as well. Okay, and you can see all of these sub-agents are still working away. So we can see here, foundation chain summary assuming against combined contrast now. Okay, so there we go. That's nice. And look at this, by the way, they're fully communicating with each other. So like wave 2 agent experience just updated wave 2 product UI. And you see that, how it came through? So I believe they can actually communicate sub-agents. They can have a chat between each other in case they need to share information. And we go back to data and we can see now we've got all the products seeded into this instance. So is 5.6.0 available on Codex now? Yes, it is. So this is literally on Codex now. So you see ChatGPT Codex, and we're in 5.6 Ultra in fast mode. Yeah. This is awesome. This is very smooth. Like I can't lie. So I find with Claude, sometimes I don't have visibility over the workflow and it can go nuts. It can send like, I feel like it sometimes opens up like 50 parallel agents all using Fable 5 and I have to quickly tell it to stop. Otherwise it will fly through my entire usage, which it actually doesn't fly through the usage, but it can definitely be hammering for unnecessary amounts of checks. 5.6.0 has been amazing so far in spawning up sub-agents as I need to with specific goals and not basically overdoing it. So far, I think that's the biggest improvement over 5.5 is the sub-agents have been amazing. And that's obviously in Ultra mode. So I don't know if you're out of Ultra mode, I don't think the sub-agent flow would be the same, but it's worth knowing those two. Because if we have a look at it actually, so see GPT 5.6 Ultra, yeah? And see Frontier Intelligence Scheduling Edition, blah, blah, blah. I think we can see here, let's see if we got Ultra. Ultra is the highest capability, saying coordinating multiple agents across parallel work streams to finish complex tasks faster. So yeah, you have to say in Ultra to be able to get the parallel work streams, I guess, going. But in my opinion, so far, it's definitely worth it. So Ultra's default 4 agents set up with a 1 agent baseline. And then developers can build Ultra-like experience using the multi-agent beta and the responses API as well. Delvin, yo, what's good, dude? He goes, it's been a while. How have you both been? Huge thanks for these streams. They helped me land a remote job and I'm loving it. Hey, that is awesome, dude. Delvin's an OG. You were back in the channel for ages ago. Jay, screenshot that. Absolutely amazing. We're doing awesome. Thank you so much. It's a very, very fun time to be a dev right now because you get all this cool stuff happening. Amazing. And well done on the remote job. Definitely share like your remote job situation, where you're working. Definitely cool to know while we're waiting for this to load. Deterministic suite was split to another unique project and the edge runtime convex test project. I'm covering the real internal functions, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this is fully a testing section. Product UI, this one is going to be effectively building out the entire section. So in this case, like page intro. So let's go into our components. Let's see. So components, I see what it's doing. This is basically doing it in a dummy file right now, which I can't see. Unless it's doing it in a work tree. I believe it could be in a work tree. So agents, app, okay, so I believe, yeah, I think that's in a work tree. Because I can't see that folder. No, okay. And then let's go back. Sometimes it can look like they're not doing much, but if you actually expand the last used thing or the last message thing. So in this case, we click down here, you can see it's actually doing quite a bit, right? So it's actually building out all the individual files and so forth. The only annoying thing that I find is that the coding, so when you have a look at the coding like interface here, if they I don't know, they need to improve this UI. Like even if I made it dark mode, yes, but obviously if I open this, like this is a totally different experience to this. Like for me personally, I still hate reviewing stuff like this. But yeah, it's definitely something which they can work on. But in terms of the actual overall, that's why I have cursor open on the side. So I always have cursor open a lot of the time. Thanks, fam, and this community is awesome. I appreciate you, dude, so much. Delvin, it definitely would love to see you inside the new community as well. We're launching it very shortly in waves. So 0 to AI Hero, you'll definitely be one of the first wave members. So feel free, hit up the link in the description. I'd love to see you inside because I want to get in the coaching calls, and literally people like yourself would be amazing to talk to on those coaching calls. I think it'd be a huge inspiration to everyone else. Okay, so wave 2 is progressing cleanly. The portal worker has established a shared shell state primitives, and the test worker started Convex edge runtime. Okay, so it's doing a full testing flow right now. Let's see. Current Eve contracts expose exactly what the UI needs. Dynamic toolpaths carry durable input requests. So this is very cool. So what this is doing is it's basically when a tool call is made, the way we detect it in the UI is the message comes through and it sometimes has message.data.tools. And then part of the .tools, I think it's tools.type is basically when you loop through it, if the type is dynamic tool, it's basically when an agent spins up one of the custom tools. And then you can basically do a little check on those tools themselves to basically determine what to show in the UI. And that's how we can basically, if we go back over here, if we look at the agent and you say, for example, these tools here. So like some of the custom ones here, like getCart.ts, right? So this is basically cool Convex bridge. I don't like that though. I don't know why it's doing it unknown. Okay, but in this case, operation get cart, clerk user ID, and it doesn't pass any arguments in. And then it goes ahead, bridge request schema, save pass. So this is an interesting bridge that is created. So bridge request schema, save pass request. Let's have a look. Contracts. So this has done a pretty granular approach of doing this, to be fair. Require clerk user ID, get cart. And I wonder where this is actually doing the request from save pass request, validated request, validation success. Okay. And then it comes down here. Okay, so it's doing it through our own API, I guess. So we have, it's doing it, site URL, Eve bridge. Okay, so the Eve bridge is basically our own custom backend with Eve. Because this is definitely from the docs. Yeah. And then I believe, let's see if M2M has been done anyway yet. No, it hasn't. Okay. We'll come back to that. So we'll look at the authentication there afterwards. But the main thing is that honestly, it's just very easy to set up. Like just from documentation, you can give it your agent this information and they can just go running, setting the whole thing up for you. Agent.ts instructions. I want to check one thing. Sub-agents. Let me turn music up a little bit. Hook, session owner, session started, context parent, register Eve, session owner. So this is where they did it. So anytime you see principal ID and custom session ID, that's pretty much where we're going to be doing it. But curious how. So because this is new to me, the clerk Eve auth helper. I believe that's the actual new clerk Eve, clerk and Vercel Eve. Let's see, this is brand new to me. So let's have a look. So clerk Eve agents auth, and then we have this right here, index.ts instructions M2M connect. I wonder if it did this or it did a custom way, but either way, afterwards I can basically go ahead and just pass this to it, or I could say, are we using this? Let's go ahead and throw that in. And I pressed Command Enter now to automatically push it and steer it. I have nice. I have great news too to share with you guys, so I'm definitely joining. Oh, amazing, dude. Do we get a sneak peek now? Implementation follows it in Agents Channel Eve and Clerk Eve Auth. So it does it inside a create clerk client authenticate request. Clerk session tokens only and a trusted Eve user principal implemented the helper manually rather than calling clerk's optional shad CN registry block. Then adding the requirements that guide does not provide by itself. So basically it used it and then it upgraded it to add in the pro plan checks, authorized parties, Convex backed Eve session ownerships, and fresh checks on create, stream, follow up. Oh, nice. Okay. There is no local deb or Vercel OIDC auth bypass. Okay, so it's extra secure. That's fine. The test worker found a real Eve trust boundary bug before end-to-end. Web chat follows child session streams for sub-agents, but we had only registered the root session owner. I'm fixing the lifecycle to register every declared child session to the same bro. Okay, so what's happening here is the root agent has an idea or has understanding of who the user is, so it knows it's speaking to Sunny, for example, when he's logged in. But when a sub-agent spawns off, the sub-agent wasn't registered to a session. So the sub-agent basically was blindly running. So that's a huge bug. Because then if they try and do any interaction with the Convex bridge, it will break. Okay, so let's see this. So that's what's cool here, is that the testing one actually found that before an end-to-end test, right? Current Eve contracts expose exactly what the UI needs. So this one's going ham, doing a bunch of stuff. So what I can see it's doing here is it's actually adding in, which is quite an interesting pattern. I haven't seen this one before. Underscore components. It's adding these in, and then it's basically going to be, I guess, popping these in as it needs to. I mean, that's a new pattern for me. But let's go to our page. So tell scout what you need. Watch Python do the math. Approve before anything changes. Okay. I mean, I'll be interested to see what this is doing. So circuit code is a friendly demo shop where Scout turns the live car into a calculated upgrade, shows its work and asks before it acts. Okay, this is quite cool. It's a nice little demo. Scout durable shopping agent. Find the best 3 product upgrade for my car and then help me order it. Okay, so it's basically creating a perfect demo for us to showcase this. That's quite nice. Combined TypeScript check is now clean. After the child session ownership fix and 2. Okay, so the port on agent. So I think, okay, so it's still running through. Let's have a little check on the usage. We're at 68. Again, remember, it's double flying through it because I'm in fast mode, right? So don't worry. Like again, it's actually just finished one of the sub agents as well. And remember, we're in wave 2, so almost actually finished. And I'll be curious to see how the whole UI looks at the end of this as well. So wave 2 agent experience, let's have a look. So, wow, okay, this one's going to town with everything. So agent timeline, agent access gate, this is all doing. So we've got one thing I definitely noticed out of the box, which I actually very much like is, so if we look at that agent timeline, so agent timeline, so this one here, one thing I noticed is this is not so bad actually. So it's done like 2 custom types here. Okay, now typically if these types are used elsewhere, yes, it's a bad pattern, so I always check for that later when I do a refactoring run. However, here, if this is if this was Opus, Opus tends to go so heavy on custom types above functions a lot of the time. So if this is the case, it's good. But all AI tends to have this bit of annoying pattern where you see they keep on nesting in these components within each other. So status badge, derived child, like all of these are like nested. Sometimes that gets a bit annoying, to be honest. I tend to always have it so the presentational layer is very simple, and then we have lib folders, or you have, if it's only used here, you have a folder structure which breaks things down. NCR says, I want to ask how improve the Eve agent responses, because it's taking a really long time, thinking about 30 to 37 seconds for every response. I change the models but still find the problem. Do you have any ideas? Depends on how you've actually implemented it, because it should be like immediate, to be honest with you. So even if I have, I don't know if I've got the demo open running still, but if I go to localhost and I type in hi, is mine running still? Yeah, so in this case, like, I type in hi. Let's see if mine is still running. So yeah, no, straight away. So I'm not sure what yours is doing. However, it might have been that you either have, I'm not really sure. It'd really be hard for me to diagnose until I can see your code or something. Because it's taking a really long time. Thinking about 30 to 30 for every response. I change the models, but still not that performant. Do you have any idea? So just drop your setup. Like what's your agent.ts? How does everything look? I'll try my best to help you out from here. Okay. So all wave 2 product code is now present and type safe. The remaining work in this wave is verification authoring. The test agent has added unit Convex suites plus 5 eval Eve evals. Nice. Okay, so it's doing evals as well, and is now adding authenticated playwright flows against the completed UI. So if you don't know what playwright is, this is end-to-end testing automatically inside of our code. So it's really good for agents. So that would be kind of cool to do. And then wave 1 is starting to kick off again. Interesting. The end-to-end design review found another real story gap to get recommendation, return 3 products, but checkout still target the old cart. I'm fixing this without pre-approval, right? Commerce will write the exact recommended product IDs, read only, then place order will revalidate and automatically order those same 3 only after direct checkouts to use the current cart. So again, this is all demo specific, right? So it's gonna get very like granular with that. I probably should have maybe said like simplify the demo. In this case, it's going to town, making a big demo. Devin says, sorry for the random detour, but I watched your Cursor 3 plugins video, bro. That's a game changer. Superpowers is hands down my best plugin now. Yeah, I'm telling you, honestly, Superpowers is awesome, dude. And I use it so much autonomously. So I usually have like lots of different projects going on, and like I'll have agents building this or building a new video script, or like it could be a script and a build. It could be my own personal stuff that I'm working on. And I always tell all of those agents in the Claude MD or agents MD files, make sure to use Superpowers when you're doing a code review. And then part of it will be I can blindly from my phone be like, code review that, code review that, code review that. And it's just been a game changer. Granted, it takes more tokens, but it's awesome. Yeah. No, don't worry about the detour. It's a very good question, dude. A very good thing that you mentioned. Complete agent has landed and compiled. Progate, same origin, Eve sessions, durable questions, approval cards. Nice. Raw child run a timeline. That's very cool. So we'll actually see a timeline view. Typed bundle order results and a full Python sandbox evidence. Very, very cool. I've added root-owned test eval scripts. This will be interesting, by the way. So I've obviously seen eval is supported, but I haven't actually looked into it myself. So this will be very, very cool to be doing it together. And now it's starting to read all of the components. And I believe this is where I'll do that. Whatever it's decided to do with this underscore components setup. Either it'll pull these through to our components, or it'll just keep them in the underscore components and just use them as needed. So evaluating local storage risks. Again, you see it can go really deep unless I really specify this is a demo, this is a demo, this is a demo. Let's go to plan. So wave 1, wave 2, wave 3. So we would be in wave 3 next, which is security auditor, browser end-to-end verification, and deployment observability verifier. Interesting. Okay, so wave 2 is actually the finish line. Wave 3 is more like security audits, end-to-end verification, and deployment. So this is very cool though, because it can basically set everything up. Like it checks the Vercel preview, logs, agent runs, OIDC, and so forth. Okay, so the exact bundle checkout fix is actively landing now in the backend contrast and transaction part. This key variant is in preserved. This is way better, by the way, when you have like this has been by far the best sub-agent orchestration that I've used compared to Opus. Opus is good, don't get me wrong. But this has been very clean. Like it's very much like the only way to describe how this has been today has been as if these are way more communicative between each other, as opposed to just like different ones. And then another agent comes in and blindly like merges 2 bits of work together, constantly like addressing what it should keep and what it shouldn't. The exact bundle checkout fix is actively landing now in the backend contracts and transaction part. Its key invariant is preserved. Okay, so it's the same thing. So, it's going a bit to like crazy on the security side, which I probably will end up saying, look, deterministic suite is still clean at 42 tests. Okay, so interesting. So I'll show you. I mean, it's a cool learning moment because I can go ahead and show you how the testing side works. Because a lot of you build apps but don't actually have test suites. So I'm talking unit tests, end-to-end suites, smoke tests. Like this stuff is very important, especially when you go to production. This exact bundle transaction is now synced to Convex Cloud. I'm running the complete Wave 2 gate in parallel, TypeScript, by test, Convex tests, Eve eval discovery, and playwright test discovery. Then I'll run both production builds. Okay, so look at this. It's running the full end-to-end test. Look at that. That's awesome. Look at that. A signed-in free user receives a 403 when it tries to communicate to the HTTP API. This is sick because what this is doing is it's actually testing boundaries, right? Let's say some nerd out there goes ahead and figures out, okay, if I go to like the inspect panel and I just directly message the agent, they can actually do some damage there, because once someone finds out a vulnerability like that, they can spam your agent as much as they wish, and you'll be getting paid. You'll be paying that bill for the end of time, right? Or you'll only know when you come to pay your bill, right? Unless you're checking things every day, which you should be when you have an agent. Both production builds now passed with the full UI. That's amazing. Look at that. All of these passed. So every single one of these end-to-end spec tests passed. And then next renders all 10 routes, and Eve's Nitro build succeeds. The only failed gate was one test that still expected the old implicit profile claim. Nice. I'm using the Vercel agent browser and browser verification skills for the next gate because demo success depends on real rendered routes, clerk states, and interactive web chat. So let's see this. Running npm run dev. I wonder if this will spin up a agent browser actually here. That'd be very cool if we could see a dev server is live at 3001. I'm checking the renders language content. The Vercel is not installed in this machine, so verification pass is unavailable. Installed in-app browser controller playwright will run the same checks rather than skip. Okay, so you could. I mean, agent. I actually quite like that agent browser's binary. We could actually do that. We could say install agent browser if needed, because that's quite cool. To be fair. But in terms of the actual functionality, wow, it's got a lot of stuff here. So now we've got a full, and it's very nice, clean code. So portal shell, page intro. What is this? This is that's actually quite cool how it's done this. I mean, if this is being repeated on every single thing, you could obviously have layouts and all that stuff. But I'm still impressed the fact that it decided to add its own kind of refactoring. Very clean. Like this is super clean code compared to like, sometimes I've seen Opus really bloat things out. But in this case, like page intro, portal shell. What's the portal shell? So this one, claim, use callback, set claiming, ready, error. Use callback, set claim state. Where's this one? Circuit, portal navigation, manage plan. Okay, so I guess this is the outside of the app, I guess, claiming panel. Okay, I mean, we're gonna have to mess around with it to really figure this one out. Require portal user. Auth protect unauthenticated URLs /sign. So it's basically going to for us to sign in. But we should also have a proxy.ts file, which, okay, they could have done that here, to be honest. That's what I would probably recommend. So again, refactoring runs can always go on forever. I'll install the current agent browser CLI globally so it remains an operator tool rather than an application dependency. I haven't used the agent browser. Interesting. It might be new. But I've used a lot of, like, I usually have the playwright one running in the background. And in case you're wondering, but how did it test the browser when a browser didn't pop up? Like, what is that called? That's called headless testing. So it's literally headless because, like, a browser is running without the head. Like, you can't see the UI. Okay, so, like, that's what you do when you have end-to-end testing. So imagine if I've written, like, 52 tests, right, across the entire app. I don't want to see my computer going nuts, having, like, browsers pop up and everything like that. So you can actually just run like a headless end-to-end suite with Playwright or something like Cypress, or in this case, the agent browser, I guess, is something that it wants to use. I guess it's going to still be using agent browser through the Playwright testing side of things, but it's basically doing it in the background. So it's a very cool concept if you've never done it before. BUS says, what was your prompt again for ensuring that it added the playwright test and the rest of the test automation? To be honest with you, I actually didn't go crazy on the test side of things. I just said, I believe I said at one point secure agent, and I believe from that it's just gone ham on testing. But if you did want to go ahead and like get a prompt to be like a bit more bulletproof with testing, I would go ahead and say add end-to-end testing, including a thorough smoke test. So that way we can test all the crucial parts of the application. Make sure that the Vercel Eve side of things is locked down. If you're doing B2B, I 1,000,000% would say, make sure that the multi-tenancy is secure and that one tenant cannot read another tenant's data or see or read or write or whatever the case. And I'd say test that thoroughly. Basically means like if I'm in one company like PapaFam and say there's another company, Apple, over here, like I should not be able to read their data and they should not be able to read my data and so forth. Even if all of our users beneath there can read access to that. So there should be correct access controls. If you use Superbase, this is known as row level security, but in things like Convex, the CEO actually recommends you don't do that. And I agree because you can lock it down at a code level. But most of the time you'll see row level security is the thing that enforces that. Yeah. He goes, Ace, thanks. Yeah, that makes sense. No, I appreciate it. Good question, dude. First browser check passed. The landing page has full contents. Okay, let's go check it out. Localhost 3001. Let's see. Okay, wow. I'm impressed. That's very nice compared to like what we typically see with AI. This is the first time, I know it's done with AI, but it's the first time I've seen something which has been like, it doesn't immediately look like it's been done with AI. It looks like some kind of designers come in here and like kind of like that, for example, that's pretty cool. And the whole design, the language, the whole thinking behind it, better electronics, better decisions. Try the guided demo, open the portal. Okay, look at this. So I don't know if we can actually, let's see, try the guided demo. Let's log in. Very nice. Okay, let's log into my account. And by the way, this is all through Clerk's authentication. Okay, so Clerk, now we are authenticated, we jump in, connecting your circuit account. We couldn't open your circuit account. Your Clerk session is safe. Try the Convex profile sync once more. So something there is broken, which obviously we're gonna have to fix in. Okay, so circuit. So let's have a look. So now it's gonna go into the authenticator. It'll probably find that out on its own. So I'm curious if it finds this out on its own. So look, it's actually logging in here. You can see, look, it's actually going snapshot, entering the password, it's filling in. And by the way, if you're wondering, how does an agent do the testing, right? So if you type in clerk test user, right, go to testing. This is awesome, by the way. So a lot of the time you'll realize that like, okay, whatever, like, well, it depends really. Like, this is a problem I had for a very long time, and then Clerk fixed it, and it made my life so easy. And I just rely on this a lot now. Like, probably too much I rely on this. But you can have agent tasks, which is good, but testing tokens is also another good thing. But if you have users, where is it? So test email on phones. So for example, any user that signs up with plus clerk test sub address as a test email address, right? So in this case, if it's like Sunny at plus clerk underscore test, could be Jane Doe like plus clerk underscore test at gmail.com, whatever. It means that basically when it comes to the MFA, so like the 2FA, enter in the code, whatever, it will always be 424242. So think about it. This is amazing for playwright testing, automation testing, end-to-end testing, because now you can basically have your agent fly through it, right? So that used to always be a biggest question I had. I was like, how do we get past that without that? So this is how we do it. The live anonymous Eve check exposed a runtime only Eve 0224 mismatch that builds did not catch. Disable tool accepted the copy agent slug during agent discovery but rejects it when serving. The copy agent tool is already absent under the configured. Okay, so the only thing I didn't like about what it did here is it went overkill on. If we go to, oh, that's very cool. Look at that. We even have evals here. Very nice. So it's fully testing everything. This is amazing. Wow. Okay. Well, we'll dive into the testing afterwards, but if you go into agents, tools, I don't think it needed to do this. It didn't need to disable everything else. I would have just preferred it only added in the tools that we want to add in. So you could argue again, it's about security, but in my opinion, it didn't need to do that right every time. List orders, pass in no arguments. Let's do, for example, get cart, clerk user ID, get account. Okay, this is very cool. So description of the authenticated users go. So let's see. Compacting. Deleted agent.ts. Okay, so it got rid of these. Agent browser installed and ready. I'm using a class. Okay. So I'm gonna say right now, before this, lots of the tools that you added and then you basically put disable tool inside of, I believe, are overkill. These are just the default tools that are present inside of agents, sandbox environments, but I don't necessarily think it's needed. I think we can just have the custom tools that we are going to use, and all of the ones for disabling tools, potentially we can get rid of them. And in case you're wondering what I'm using to speak, you can actually go to Super Whisper. I know people are a fan of Whisperflow, whatever the case. I'm not sponsored by Super Whisper. Just if one of my friends made this, so you can feel free to download it. I use it every day, 1 million times over. Use code Sunny25, I think, to basically get a little discount on it. So yeah, shout out to him, because I use that thing every day and it's really good. I do type a lot of the time. I have moments where I go back and forth, but it's really, really quite awesome. So Passion Brain says, need to look into the Convex logs. Let's have a look. likely it's because there's probably some mirroring that is trying to do where the user signed in and it didn't create. So in this case, like unauthorized claim mine, you must be signed in. Yeah, so that's a bit of an annoying one. Manifest confirms or disable stubs are creating a lot of policy noise. I'll remove all the remaining disable only files and rely on Eve's natural behavior. Custom tools remain explicit while the recommended. Yeah, that's better. The cleanup is now reflected in Eve's compile. 0 disabled framework tools. So now you'll notice how it's, yeah, that's way better. That's what we should have. Yeah, so just a word of like advice. When you're doing yours, it should only be the tools that we're introducing, not like disable everything else. NCR says, how improve the Eve agent? Because it usually takes data. Yeah, you did mention, I changed the model, but still no problem. It depends, honestly. I need to see your agent.ts, your setup, because if you show me like your sandbox file and your agent.ts file and just paste it in the chat, maybe I can see if there's like a little setting that you've changed or tweaked. It could just be Intel. I'm not really entirely sure. Unless I have your code in front of me, it's very hard for me to figure out. So that's way cleaner. Yeah. And then sandbox here. Okay, cool. And then let's go to the, oh, look at this, evals, audit now, eval, recommendation questions. So this is very cool. This is actually testing if it can, and I'm not sure if you guys have ever done this before, but this is really good because this tests your LLM against basically how it answers questions and basically what happens. So you see like approval gates. So very cool. Like require input request, place order, and then it says display confirmation, option IDs, approve or deny. All right, so that's pretty cool. So we've got human in the loop here as well. So now let's try it one more time. So I just want to also go ahead and kick off this. So let's go to localhost 3001. Oh, we had it here anyway. Retry account sync. So interestingly enough, we're going to go and copy this. And then I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to paste this one in. And it will definitely find this on its own, but just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to go ahead and pop this in and say, got this error on dashboard. And just steer that in. Because right now it's basically going crazy on the testing. So yes, while I don't mind that, I don't really want to burn tokens just for the testing here. You get the point of the testing, right? Oh, look at this, it found it. I can reproduce the same boundary in the authenticated smoke test. Clerk consider the browser signed in before Convex has finished accepting a clerk back token. So claim mine is firing during that short unauthenticated window. I'm fixing the client-side gate so the mutation cannot run until Convex reports an authenticated identity. So this tends to happen actually because they actually say this in the Convex clerk integration guide. Once you have a clerk, a Convex clerk integration, your source of truth becomes not, where is it? Yeah, it's no longer the clerk source of truth. You should be using Convex's hooks instead. So you see here, you can control blah, blah, blah. These should be shown instead of clerks show when signed in or signed out. Because basically it's important to use the Convex auth hook instead of this. So what I like to do here is basically grab this, pop it in here and say, yes, use Convex auth, I believe. So sometimes I'll just basically steer it, help it out, jump in the mix. So a lot of the time it's trying to, it didn't basically do this. So it still used something like use auth when it should be using use Convex auth because it causes a race condition. Think about what's happening. Your clerk user is basically still proving that they're logged in. So there's like a short network signal that goes across and basically comes back with like a token saying, yeah, he's logged in. And in that time, there's a race condition where you tried to access the database, right? So you tried to access Convex and then Convex was like, no, you're not logged in. So you have to now use Convex's source of truth where we had a provider. So here, if you saw in the code over at layout, over here, we had tooltip app providers down here. You see this? We have clerk wraps Convex provider with clerk. So basically what's happening here is this is basically, interesting how it's done this bit. But this is basically saying, I mean, I don't know if that's a bit overkill, to be fair. Yeah. But anyway, oh, unless that's actually the file. Okay, no, that's actually the file. I always get confused with that. But basically what this is doing now is just saying, you should be waiting for clerk to come back with the handshake, and then it passes that through Convex, and then you're basically synced. So then if any interaction from the client to the back end is now going to always be auth. So you don't have that race condition. So there's one configuration issue on the race. Clerk developments had no Convex audience map. So once the initial request failed, okay, I validated the exact change with clerk config dry run and applying it through the CLIs. And again, this is another reason why you want to have all your CLIs set up. Exactly, that is the current Convex and it matches the failure. See, boom, exactly the failure that we just said. Clerk's use auth is sufficient for the header and plan, but not for deciding when a Convex mutation is safe. Yes, because it's a race condition. So I'm changing the profile claim to wait for use Convex auth instead, right? And then here, there's one configuration issue underneath. Yeah, so this one's doing it. The fix is in place and the clerk CLI now confirms development session token carries AUD Convex. And again, because we updated the JWT token, we now have to actually either log in and out or refresh. So refresh usually should do it. Boom, there you go. Look at that, amazing, right? So it found me in, I'm a free member. I've got my card over. This is actually very nice UI, wow. Okay, I'm so impressed. Like it done it really clean. Look. So turn your cart into a smarter 3-piece setup, start with Scout. So this is like a big demo here, right? Account welcome Maya Chen. That's not me, your account order shelf. So let's go to shop. In this case, every time I do this, is connecting your account. We could get rid of that, obviously. But here we've got like some headphones and so whatnot. So Studio Aux speakers, Pocket, Orbit. These are like just, let's add some images. Let's say add some images to the products. Okay. But let's say I add these to my cart. So I'm going to add headphones, Pebble, mini earbuds. And let's see. So we're stuck here. What's going on? Added, and let's go to our cart now. So we've got two things in our cart, and then you can see, look, no money moves, ask Scout for help or keep shopping. So in this case, let's see what it's done. So ask Scout for help. Shop freely, upgrade when you want to Scout, Scout. So put Scout and 2 specialists on your shopping team. Free members keep accounts, shop, cart, and order access. Pro unlocks a durable Eve agent, human approvals, and private Python optimization. So obviously it's a full demo, right? It's going so in on like explaining what it's doing. But view pro plans, and we can see we've got free and pro, and then it's rendering in. This is the pricing table. And it's just customized the way it shows. Now what you can do is instead of having it like this duplicated, Clerk give you something called the Clerk checkout button. Okay, so here, so Clerk checkout button component, and this gives you the ability to actually customize. So you can just have a button. So say, instead of having duplicated pricing tables everywhere, just add a checkout button to keep the UI however we want and custom looking. And this is really nice because what we can do now is basically have it look however we want. So before we were trying to fight with it because we've got like the Clerk pricing table, which renders all of this out, which is awesome. But maybe we just want to show this and we want to see which one's active, right? It's a very nice dashboard like pizza site. In this case, we click subscribe there. You can see the whole flow works. But in here, another issue we have, this is a visual bug. So here as well, what we do is we just screenshot there and we can say, also, when we click a checkout, the checkout flow or the slide out is actually underneath the header because of z-index mess up or z-index mess up, mistake, something like that, right? Go ahead and throw that in, force it in. And what's cool about this is you see I'm steering it in, but it doesn't mean that it's like, you know, it doesn't mean that it's ignoring the other tasks, right? And like it spun off a sub agent for the product images. So why, you see how I did that? So like I asked it to do something, spun up a sub agent so it doesn't block the main thread, which is really nice. Okay. Now checkout button is going to spin up a sub agent for that flow. Nice. I see it, the portal top by single. So that way it can carry on with the initial work that it was doing. So in this case, that should go ahead and get fixed. Let's look at the agent. Okay, we're locked on the agent. So we have the gating working. Okay. And in case you're wondering, this is all actually real. So if I go over to my Clerk account and I go to users, we actually will have our user here. So we got, firstly, these are test accounts from our agent doing end-to-end tests, right? Like Eve Pro and Eve Free. We go to Sunny. You can see my logged in state. Perfect, right? Yeah, interestingly enough, it didn't use plus clerk test, which is, oh, okay. If you ever found it ran into an issue, it would probably find the clerk test documentation now. But I would probably fix that because it's only a matter of time to it probably will run into that issue. Okay, but in this case, that's a free member, and then this one is a pro, and I don't believe this is billing, so MRR 0. Okay, so it probably hasn't done a billing run yet. Okay, so now checkout button updated, so you can see that the checkout button is now searching the documentation, getting everything down. Fresh clerk convex dashboard now exceeds no unauthorized mutation. The overall shop route renders. The remaining smoke test failure is data state, no authentication. This reusable free fixture currently owns an empty cart. So I'm making the browser test resilient to legitimate empty carts while preserving the seeded data session separately. Okay, let's see what it's doing here. It really does tend to like collapse everything here. So you see there's quite a lot it's doing, but you wouldn't really think it's doing much. So maybe they should have like a little kind of sub-nested view, but it's doing a lot in the mixer. So product images, let's see if it actually did that yet or not. So we go back over here, 3001, go to our shop. Oh, and oh, nice. Oh my God. Okay, so it created its own like looking images. Okay, I was literally gonna say use like Unsplash image, but it literally made like images of everything. Okay, I'm curious if that just exhausted my my quota. Let's see, the image system will use 6 local SVG shelves, 1 pocket, 5 distinct product drawings for each. Did it create those? I think it, okay, so it actually created SVGs. Rise laptop stand, Lumen monitor bar. Okay, I mean, it's kind of cool. We can stick with this for now. In this case, they say random tech organizer, add to cart. I mean, it'll probably be nicer if like these are some dummy orders associated with my account. So we can just see our order state, like view the receipt, so forth, okay? And then the main thing is, so if we go to Ask Scout for Help, view pro plans. So in a moment, this will be done, the checkout button. So I'm replacing the generic table with one reusable branded checkout surface. It keeps both billing periods visible, clerk renders only for authenticated users and so forth, okay? I just want to see as well. So look at this, you see that? Very nice. Cool. So you see how that's what we should have. And then obviously it should get rid of this because it's duplicated. So in a moment, it should ideally throw these down here versus, you know, oh no, I guess it's free pro. And then it's saying choose your circuit membership. Like pro. The replacement that types it is only remaining billing compliance the intent checkout button. And then it's checking the end-to-end. Okay, nice. Cool. And then it's to choose annual, and it fixed that bug for us. And something else which I really like that it did is it rounded the corners of this, which is the first time I've seen an agent do that. And it even changed the styling of all of this. So that's very clean. That's the first time an agent has done that personally for me as well. Okay, so we're going to switch to, we're going to do, let's do monthly billing. So monthly billing, pay with the test card. And now I am a pro member. So it says Scout is ready. I can manage my plan down here. Let's go to our account, manage account. We can see billing. I'm now a pro member, 20. That we should see that has gone through on clerk side. So if we go to billing, boom, $20, Sunny's on pro. And now go to localhost, there we go. And let's go to our orders or cart. Okay, so I've got these items in. Let's ask Scout for help. And then boom, okay, so this is Scout. You can see try the guided demo. What's that? First, find the best 3 product upgrade for my cart, and then help me order it. So let's try it. Your sign-in needs a refresh. Sign in with clerk to use the agent. Sign in again. Okay. Interesting. Okay, let's do refresh. Okay, so that's a interesting one. Human in the loop. Let's just type in hello. Let's see if it does. So Scout cannot complete the request. Okay, so we've got an issue here with our gating. Okay, so we do partner. Hello. Okay, so maybe it was because of my JWT or something, but okay, it's gone through now. If we hit a refresh, we probably don't want to have this every time, by the way, but you can actually just fix that with the authenticated blocks, right? But in this case, it remembered the chat, which is quite nice, right? In this case, what would you like to do? So I'll say, show me all of my orders. So look, the chat is running through. Again, some UI tweaks that can be done, I guess. List orders. Okay, nice. We've got our orders. We can see the entire order thing here. So we can see all of our, okay, we got the orders, the date, the demos. Someone can say something like, I ordered Halo ANC headphones. Okay, so say, when did I order Halo ANC headphones? You should be able to see the context. Okay, there you go. You can see it. I'm going to say, do you want to check for refund eligibility? I want to refund that. I want to refund though. Okay, let's see. So imagine like this was a support bot, for example, now, right? So thinking, I'll go ahead and check refund eligibility and process the refund for your ANC with our commerce specialist. This will require your approval via Eve before anything is finalized. Okay, and look at this. Look, oh, nice. Okay, so now AI Gateway rejected the model request. Okay, so we've got a few things like this. This is where our testing will fix it afterwards. Likely because our agent has been pretty strict on the test side of things. And like we can see here, this child tried to run again. So it tries to actually handle the failed. So look, the request failed twice on our back end. This isn't a decision about your refund, just technically of mine. Let me try once more. So firstly, this is actually pretty sick. We're seeing real-time streaming come in with the failure attempts, which is actually pretty cool. I mean, obviously it's not cool that it failed, but, and obviously it's saying a lot of like technical stuff. But if you didn't want it to say the technical stuff in the instructions.md, you could obviously say, don't talk technical language, blah, 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 right? In this case, I'm gonna say found a bug. I have a feeling that it's probably because of the, but the cool part is it will find all of these bugs in the end-to-end testing. That's a real one-time bug in the run repeated. I'm making the UI worse. I'm tracing the child run failure from Eve's server logs and AI gateway response now. So firstly, incredible, right? So Eve server logs and AI gateway. Notice how I didn't give it a Vercel Eve key, right? So the gateway key. So if you notice over inside the dashboard, where is it? Over here, inside of our AI gateway, I never gave it the key, right? So I never actually set up a key here. So where did it get the key from? It used the OIDC connector because it knew that I was logged in. So it used the CLI to authorize its own key. So that's amazing. So look at that. It actually set all of this up for us. And you can see it's already billing through this. And we can make our sub-agents be on different models if we don't want them to be on like expensive models and whatnot. That's a real one-time bug in the future. Okay, so polling, and this is why I say again to install CLIs, because look at this. It's able to go and check the logs exactly of what happened. So this saves me from going over here, looking at what happened, going over into Convex, looking at what happened, seeing exactly what happened. So like all of this data together is very useful. And before you'd have to screenshot, get this, go screenshot, put inside your agent. Now everything happens from your agent itself. Okay. So there's tons of like layered learning moments in this video, to be fair. All right, we've got 11 sub agents here as well. Let's have a look. So a quick little word on usage, just 34% left. So what I probably will do now to ensure that we don't run out before the end is go to standard speed, because this would have been half the cost if I didn't have it in fast mode. Okay. And obviously I'm in ultra. So it would have been half the cost. And again, 5-hour limits. This for me resets to 7 o'clock in 4 hours is absolutely fine. Yeah. So in this case, what's this? 5-hour usage. Oh, that's Codex Spark. I was wondering. Okay. But overall, look, and in terms of my weekly usage limit, absolutely barely touched it. Like, so it's not that much at all. That's a real one to mind the peak. Okay, so let's see. So it's fully checking through everything. And it's doing a thorough inspection. Okay. But while that's happening, I want to dive into localhost 3001. Let's have a look. Firstly, let's just have a look at this. So tell us what we need. Watch Python do the math. Recommendation specialist evaluates every valid 3 product combination inside a private network denied sandbox. Approved before anything changes. Look at that. Choose your cadence. Look how cool that is. That is so nice. Like I can actually trigger it from here. Look at that checkout. So right now I'm on the monthly plan, so we can actually just make the button show the current plan if that's the case. Or if we click choose annual, you see how it actually calculates everything for me, and then it lets me choose to do an upgrade like that. And I'm already on the free plan, so I'm already on the pro plan. So it just we can update the UI easily for that, right? This right now is obviously dummy information that shouldn't be there. The orders as well from here. The main thing is as well the agent. So let's just see something here. So I would also always say you should do a height of screen limit with overflow here. So that way I don't have this weird scroll down behavior like this. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that in. So I'll say inside of /agent chat, add a fixed height of screen with overflow so that the input box is always fixed to the bottom, and that way it's always easy to use the agent chat. Also, when we expand anything like, for example, an agent tool call or something like that, give it a small kind of, fixed height when I expand it, and then have it overflow so that way I can scroll through it. So there are two things that I always recommend. So for example, if I'm here and I click that, like this is like bloating out my entire chat. Well, what it should be doing is like having a box which basically stops from like here. So like imagine it was like only expanded there, and I kind of just scroll through that box, but it'll only reach up to here, not like bloat all this way down. And let's see. So this is deep in the roots of trying to figure out what's going on now. And to be honest with you, at this point, I would probably, like, once you've got a base like this, I'd probably be doing like as in like different agents at the same time, as opposed to one huge agent going. Like if I was typing hi here, I wonder if it would block it or if it continues on. Just to recap, you asked for a refund. Would you like, oh wow, okay, look at that. Look, durable question. Would you like me to try one of the refunds? So a few things actually I want to see is this, like, fix the UI. So, but here, look, do something else instead, but retry the refund. Say, explain what this will do. So look at that. Again, this is send answer. So answer send, explain what this will do. The same child is resuming. Sure, happy to explain. Right, and check eligibility. Ask the commerce specialist to verify the CC demo. See, it's actually refundable right now. Preview the refund, and then it asks me again. So, should I proceed with the refund? And look how it has different, different question every time. Eva's parked the same child one. Okay. So, and it's a durable question, so this will hold, right? If I click yes, proceed. Now let's see if it can actually do it. So great, proceeding now, and then it'll do a tool call for issuing a refund. Okay, hopefully, like let's see. But that is awesome, human in the loop moment. Okay, so it says the child's running, commerce again. So we have a problem with the sub child running. Okay, I don't want to fabricate a result, so I won't report a fake outcome, but which is very good. It didn't like falsify a report. I can help with something else. In the meantime, what would you like to do? You can come back and try again later if this is a transient outage. So here I could say maybe suggest some recommendations. Let's see if it can do this at the moment. Wow, if a durable run points to the refund shape, the commercial was sending a very large union chart with unspoiled Claude's strict structured output compiler. Claude's current docs explicitly say this constraint must be transformed away and that the oversized grammars return HTTP on confirm against live gateway with a minimal request. Then I replace the child's Y scheme with a small typed envelope while keeping the full convex validation in our code. So in this case, yeah, it's the same thing. So it looks like it's passing too much of a body over to Claude. But again, to be honest with you, like finding that yourself is a huge challenge. Like you'd have to do a bunch of debugging. You wouldn't be sure that it would, like, how would you know that would be the exact reason? Especially something like the body of the request. Especially when you get like these kind of errors, unless they explicitly said in the error response that it was because of the constraint of the body and so forth. But overall, let's actually see where it's running. So I want to see inside of our, let's go into our workflows. We're inside of agent demo. So it's not kicked off workflows. Let's do agent sandboxes. Did it do a sandbox yet? No. So it didn't do it inside of a workflow. It didn't do a sandbox. It was inside of agent gateway, definitely kicked off. So, so we can probably improve this to use workflows as well. Because I wonder if now, if I was to go into the chat and do a new chat at the top. So if we go to new chat, can I see my old chat? No, okay, so it's completely killing that chat. Okay. And then if we try this one again, probably will fail. No, okay, so show me all my orders. The good news is it actually cached that really quickly. So 3 orders currently eligible, refundable. Okay, so let's do, for example, this one. Refund it. And again, you can have this like be in widget form as well. So when did I order? So I can say refund it. Ah, no, okay, this is interesting. So it's not doing, it's just kind of proceeding through. So if I type in ABC, okay, yeah, no, it's definitely not working the way we want it. So the new chat is not happening the same. Okay, yeah. We need to fix that. So it's fixing firstly that issue that we had previously. And now we've got, yeah, okay. Also, when I start a new agent chat, it acts very strangely. Instead of starting an actual new chat, it's showing me the old chat progressively as I type in new messages. So it's not showing the new message, it's showing the old message progressively be added into the chat and then the old response, which is completely wrong. We also need to be using workflows from Vercel Eve. So I'm getting these 3 lined up and then I'll just stare at all 3 and once this is done, because this is the most important part here. So this hopefully should, let's just kind of get through this part. So I'm just going to keep on pushing through. Okay. Let's just try now, refund now. Is it gonna, no? Okay, yeah, so it's completely halted at the moment, which means it's either A, it's not running. It's probably not running. Let's see, so run the command check. It's going a bit too crazy on the testing, to be honest with you. So don't worry about nailing testing at the moment. Or actually leave it. Server log confirms diagnosis. Returned because Eve exposed a child's top-level union as a tool schema without a top-level object type. Because both child-wise schemas are now compact top-level objects. Direct live gateway probes for commerce and recommendations both pass. I've also added a never auto retry a failed child rule. I'm restarting. I mean, that was kind of cool, to be honest with you, but at least we know we can do it. I'm restarting Eve cleanly to discard the stale conversion before replaying the refund once. Okay. As AI becomes part of our daily workflow, what's your approach in using agentic workflows to ship faster without compromising code quality, scalability, security, and maintainability? Really depends on your workflow practices. So for me, code reviews are a must. I'll do it like a million times over. I always also have 2 different code agents review something. So if I code something with Claude Code, I usually get Codex to review it. And if I do Codex, I don't always get Claude Code to review it, but it's a good habit to always do it. Especially if it's for a big thing, I will always get it double checked and reviewed. So in this case, let me turn me down. Okay, let me force this in. So because this could be relevant to restart Eve clean too. Okay, so I don't want to see that old chat. It's too high. Let's see, is it reaching it or not? Okay, so ignore that top bit for now. Say, I need a refund. Oh. Okay, so it's definitely around both. New chat must create a fresh Eve workflow session and clear. You should never replay in the new session. Backend is already Eve durable workflow space session. Turn runtimes. interesting. So let this resolve itself. And then in the meantime, our workflow. So ultimate agent demo is some agent even stack. No, it's this one. 100% it's this one. Our workflow should be running here, which is interesting. So I don't see the workflows coming through. So Sandboxes neither. New chat workflow. So I'm tracing the web session against Eve. I'll isolate the fix to chat client. A new chat must create a fresh Eve workflow, fully detach the old stream and prevent stale hydration from winning a race. I'll say currently in Vercel's dashboard, I don't see any of the workflows kicking off. Somebody else stream describes to create a distinct Eve room. I mean, if you want, you can have like several, you can have several different chats and all that support, but that's down to you. You can have like Convex store that and handle it. Local Eve server can run durable without publishing into your Vercels. Oh, okay, yeah, that's true. Okay. Okay, that's why. Damn it. So that's my fault actually. So it is working. It's just happening here. It's all being stored locally in the steps. Okay, because I had it deployed when I was showing you before. Okay, that makes sense. And let's also fix these two. So I want to fix these. The bug has a concrete cause. Hook is initialized from the save sessions cursor. I'm calling reset on that same mountain store can recreate the original cursor. That makes the next new chat. Continue and stream the prior durable workflow. I'm changing new chat to abort and remount a brand new Eve store with no cursor plus a generation gone. So a late old streamed callback cannot restore deleted history. So you can see it's very good at getting to where we needed to. So this is actually pretty good then. So it's working. The one thing that I don't know if we'll have time for today is hooking up Slack. But it's so easy. Honestly, you just go to connect, literally create a connector, or you just pass the documentation in. It'll handle the entire thing for you. But it's because imagine like it could be very cool use case here where you have, for example, let me see what accounts we can connect to it. So we go to, for example, here, we go to channels. Then we go to Twilio, Telegram. So imagine like you had, for example, a Telegram chat on your website, which allowed you to chat, authenticate yourself, and then basically go ahead and order things from Telegram straight from off the website. That'd be kind of powerful. And basically you'll be talking to the exact same agent that we created today with the custom tools. And of course the connectors here, again, they're like super quite easy to implement. You just pop this inside of a connections folder, in this case, linear example, and then this will handle the authentication flow with you, and then you'll be authenticated inside of Vercel Connect. Okay, so okay, that's good. I'm also putting in the new layout regression on the same surface. I wonder if it pushed in this. Like, did it push this over here? I'm putting in new layout regression on the same surface. Agent mobile. Okay, so actually that's very cool. So what it did there is when I pushed these two in, it diverted that to new chat unfolding that UX fix into the same chat pass. So it actually pushed this into the new chat workflow. So it passed that work to the sub agent. And then we also have another agent over here, which is basically checking the deployment status. The host integration is current next config wraps Eve with Eve and document path message. Okay. I'm checking preview environment completes now. Then I'll wait for the new chat patch, run the full build and deploy the exact verified state. Amazing. So this is quite an important step actually. So if we go over to the code now, you can see we're about to deploy afterwards. So if you go to next config down here, you can see that with Eve wraps our next config, same as I showed in the beginning. So simply by doing Vercel config now, Vercel deploy, sorry, it will go ahead and actually deploy to Vercel, which in turn will deploy the attached Eve agent as well. One settle point surfaced in Eve manifest durable session workflows active, but Eve's separate model visible dynamic workflow capability is not enabled. I'm reading that bundle feature contract now. I'll only enable if it's the Eve workflow tool or redundant handbill orchestration now. That's very cool. Remember what we saw earlier? So the dynamic workflow capability. This would be cool to enable. And let's check our usage as well. 21% left. So I'm gonna have to start wrapping out. I've got another cursor one that we can use as well. But I kind of want to wrap it up with that, as in once it's done with that. So we're going to deploy it, get it live, and then I want to showcase it working, and that will be the ultimate finish. But while that's happening now, we should be able to actually test if the new chat fix gets in there. So let's go ahead and see if it worked. I mean, again, this is a bit too like chunked in. This is losing a lot of space here. But if we were to try the guided demo now, find the best 3 product upgrade for my cart, then help me order it. Let's see if the child works now. So remember, it was because the tool it was trying to access was too high. I don't think it's running it now. Okay, so yeah, it cut the terminal. Created workflows.ts. Oh, so it actually started the workflows one. Okay, so I said it'd be cool to add it. It's adding that in. Meanwhile, while this is happening, it's adding in the other fixes that we talked about. I've enabled Eve's native workflow tool and capped it exactly 2 child calls. The guided recommend then order demo now directs Eve to run recommendation analyst followed by commerce operator inside 1 durable dynamic workflow. Single specialist request still delegate directly. This is additive to, okay, so this one is the guide recommend then order. Okay, so recommend then order. I'm going to copy this now and you can see that dynamic workflow eval. So this one, curious when it says this agent, what it's doing. So it's updated an agent. I guess that, no, okay. So Dashflow audit was done over here. The session picks are now guarded in 2 layers. New chat gets in. It's way more actually like, it feels a lot more smoother than working with Opus. I'll give it that. Like, even though Opus is very good and Fable is very good, but even then I still have frustration with it. Like, it's amazing, don't get me wrong, but it's still frustrating in different ways. Trust me, when you use it, you'll see what I mean. 5.6 is so smooth with the sub-agent flow. The module is bundled inside Eve, so no dependency is missing. The failure is specific to handling the workflow tool after Eve server was already running. Okay, so let me see if we can get this down. So connect to your circuit account. Okay, let me just type in hi, see if it comes back. I don't know if this is running. Okay, yeah. So let's do find the best 3 product upgrade and then help me order it. Let's give it a try now. Okay, so it should have the tool call. I mean, obviously there are changes in the back happening, so I'm not sure if it's going to kill things because like running npm run dev. So I have a feeling it's going to queue message failed. So it's trying to, the clean restart loaded, the prior error modular plan's gone. So it's doing a bunch of stuff in the back. Okay, so let's try this properly in a moment, right? When we can actually be sure that it's not going to keep on interrupting me. Quick water break, and then we're almost coming to a wrap up. So we actually did add the dynamic workflow itself. Bob99 says, yo, sir, how are you liking 5.6 so far, Sonny? How does it compare to Opus 4.8 or even Fable? Fable is an interesting one because I feel like Fable was amazing. It's still good, don't get me wrong, but it was incredible until they did the annoying thing that they did. And basically, I feel like they nerfed Fable too much because now it's just frustrating in certain parts. But when it comes to Opus versus 5.6 so, especially in Ultra mode with the work, like kind of Opus 4.8 workflows versus 5.6 so Ultra workflows, kind of the comparison where you have basically sub-agent orchestration. 5.6 so has been incredible. So like, look, the cleanest way of putting it is look how deliberate this is. There's 13 sub-agents that have happened throughout the entire build, and each one has had a specific exact use case. So they haven't really like kind of gone off and just spawned off a ton of different things. I think it's basically going ahead and it's done it in such a clean way, as opposed to what I found is with Opus sometimes, or Fable especially, it will be like spinning up 100 sub-agents to run through 100 tests, which is just flying through my usage, as opposed to this. But the limit so far for me, right up to today, don't get me wrong, we went crazy with it today, right? So I drained through like literally 100% of a 5-hour limit. So definitely bear in mind, half of that was on fast mode. We are in Ultra, so it does run through. So definitely it's running through it way faster than 5.5. But at the same time, it also did a ton of work. So I can't really say it's too bad. Like, I think it's very good. I think it's super promising. Like if anything, I had more fun coding with 5.6, and I feel like it did a better job of getting everything dialed in at a much better level than I feel Opus did. But does that mean I'm going to stop using Fable 5? No. Fable 5 is awesome. But now that they put it under API usage after the 12th or 13th, I think it is, then hell yeah, I'm going to stick with 5.6 and Opus 4.8. Like those two for me are enough. There's no need to be using Fable. Fable 5 doesn't actually give that much of a benefit anymore compared to what the first time they released it. I'm telling you, it was unbelievable compared to like what it is now. So I don't know. I feel like they did something. They nerfed it after the whole government situation, but either way, that's not my place. So in this case, let's wrap up with it. We got this. Yeah, Jay, I see that. Okay, so let's try a new chat. Is this still working? So try the guide demo source code. Okay, we need to restart the server. So main thing is sub-agents are done. Draw layer, check pass, checkout did not navigate after press failure. I'm expecting failure. And look at this, it's even testing it on its own. So this is literally the agent testing it on its own, by the way. Yeah. Show payment successful. Wait for explicit continue. Okay, so I just want to say now, we could just do, if I go to cat package JSON, now we can see our Convex, so that we've got loads of scripts here. So dev Eve says to npm dev. So make a terminal command where I can run Convex, and we actually don't even need to because it's running against the local. Run the app as I want to test it. I want to see something. Actually, no, let's not do that. Let's do a terminal command. So create a concurrent terminal command that runs Convex alongside the next dev server for me. And let's go ahead and spin this one off. And to be honest with you, what it was doing behind the scenes is it was doing tons of testing. Yeah. So bear in mind, like, yes, in previous like kind of videos, I've done a build before, but one thing that this did, which killed the others, is the amount of testing that this went into. Okay. So not this one. Look at this, guys. Like the amount of end-to-end testing this did was nuts. So it did evals, it did end-to-end tests. Like it truly thoroughly coded as opposed to just building something. And to be honest with you, even the UI was very nice compared to like the typical AI UI that we're used to seeing. But like it done every kind of corner test you can imagine, found the problems with that. So the usage was definitely allocated and deserved. Delvin says, with multi-step workflows like agentic KYC, how does Vercel Eve durably maintain the agent state if a third-party verification tool takes a long time or fails halfway through? So durable session, I believe, will stick around as opposed to if it was versus something like, obviously in this point, I would make sure that your new chat wouldn't destroy the old chat, or not destroy the old chat, but basically lose a point into it. So I would basically have it so my chats would all be stored in Convex with reference to the workflows. So that way, in case like I ever did need to come back, say I closed my computer, I came back, and then I came to that chat and it was still there. The thing is, you have to factor in a lot of things here. One, the workflows can do this because they can remain open and durable. Two, the KYC check would have to be, it's only going to be out like, they're typically short-lived portals. So it's like a 5-minute token they'll give you. You go into the web portal. If you didn't upload your documents within 5 minutes, it's kind of like expired. So you'd have to kind of solve this both, but 100% you can do that with Vercel Eve and it will stay open. And then say, for example, we came back, I would just put in the instructions MD file, something like, oh, by the way, if it ever timed out, just start up another KYC check for me. So yeah, I think it can be pretty awesome in that side. But imagine you tried to do this the traditional way that we used to build agents. Like you see how Vercel Eve is so powerful there, right? And then trust me, when you're adding connections and you're adding the channels, it's nuts. Like you can really build something really cool here. Hub says, thanks. By the way, how's the UI front-end capabilities? The new 5.6 more better than 5.5. Kills, absolutely kills 5.5. 5.5 sucked with the UI. It looked so ugly. It was crazy. All the time, I would always look at Claude as the winner there. But to be honest with you, this is not bad at all. Standard Agent browser launch exposed a separate local only issue. HTML, okay, but this is kind of frustrating now. So let's go to my package JSON. So package Additionally, I added in a concurrent, so dev now launches both kill others on fail. So PM dev. So my one now should go ahead. Oh, PM. Oops. What was this package lock? Oh, so it's using npm. Okay, npm run dev. Site command not found. npm I. To be honest, forget this. Oh, it was fine. npm run dev. Concurrently kill others on fail. So in this case, now it spins it up using port 3001. Okay, so let's try it now. Okay, try the guided demo. Find the 3 best product upgrades for my cart, then help me order it. Hopefully we can get through this now. Okay, so it's thinking. Let's see, we should get past the first child issue we had previously. So at this point, we should be getting. There you go. So Scout delegated in. So firstly, it did start up workflows. Amazing. Right, delegated. The child is running. Boom. What total budget would you like for the 3 product bundle upgrades? We have human in the loop, which is nice. So in this case, either part the same child run. Okay, so let's say, say we want $1,000, right? And you see how we have human in the loop working, and the child continues to run all again through this workflow. And you can see all the workflow kind of output here. What is your top priority for this bundle, right? Amazing. Thank you so much, Delvin. He goes, that makes perfect sense. Thank you. Appreciate the breakdown. Absolutely did. Always, anytime. Right. So in this case, Eve is part. And look at this. He also it says how we can actually tap into the state of the chat. Right. And a durable question. That's why I kind of wanted this demo, right? Eve is part of the same trial round. Okay. So what's the top right? We want performance value. Performance. Okay. So we've got 2 back-to-back questions. And this kind of went to the recommendation analyst. And what will be cool here to see is, remember, it was recommend, then order. So there was actually like an order agent, I believe. So we should be able to do that. And then, of course, you need to try the refund. So far, it's looking good. And like while this is happening, it's doing a whole load of UI regression testing in the back. So this is what I'm saying about the whole, like, pushing things through, which is quite cool. Like, the sub-agent flow is very intentional here, and it's very well-roundedly built this out today. All right, 14% left. I'm going to try and get it done in the whole thing. There we go, select. Recommendation agent is still doing it. So it finished one. Okay, so interestingly enough, I guess we need to just order the things correctly, and also the text is super annoying when it does this. But it's coming back with the results. For some reason, they're just coming out of order. So we can fix that. Commerce operator requests approval. Eve gate. Approve. Select approval gate. So exact order total. Cart ID, cart version, exact payload. So in this case, this is bloody killing the thing. Okay, but you see, okay, that's a very good point though. Look at Delvin's question earlier, right? What happens about durability? You notice how, look, I refreshed, we come back. Usually a chat will be gone, right? The whole status screen, but this is durable. So it still stays, right? And obviously this is not very user-friendly. Right? I would basically have it, so instead of showing this, you show the items that are in order, okay? But obviously you can tell it to do that. And then this approve simulated action, approval sent, and now we should see another thing run. And of course, after this, yep. Okay, so now you can see down here, order placement result, simulated order placed, order number, sent air motor, track Bluetooth, beam key light, order total 387. And then we should be able to see. The only thing that we need to obviously fix is they're appearing out of order, right? Here's the full recommendation order, flow to flow recommendation, priority, performance budget 1,000. It found these 3 items bundled to a well under your $1,000 budget, leaving $613 unused, order placed. Boom. And then I can say, okay, I want to refund it now. I made a mistake. I want to refund it. I want to refund it. I made a mistake. Refund it. Yeah, now let's see. So this order, so 2NE G, what is it? GCQ, right? So let's see if it can do that. I'll be curious to see if these kick in as well, if they change. Okay, yes, we can see like actual agent kind of operations over here. So again, like this, you can totally customize and change, by the way, right? So Scout delegated Neve child run, refund eligibility result. So it said not eligible. Only delivered ordered can be refunded. The order is still processing. Demo commerce only, no real payment on the bank. Okay, so let's say, which orders can I refund? Okay, so now let's see if it can handle that. When does new AI community officially launch? These interactive sessions are incredible. Thank you for being so intentional with your answers. We are learning a ton. Dude, you're absolutely welcome. Honestly, it's so tough. Like, me and Jay are trying our best. Like, we just keep getting busier and busier and busier with this stuff. But we want to launch like now. Honestly, like we kind of want to go now. I want to ask you a question right now before we carry on. If I only had a partial amount of the lessons ready and we released every single week, is this something you would be interested in now, just to get inside the lessons weekly? So let me know now, because we're in the process of shooting, doing all that stuff, but we really want to kind of launch now, just so we can have the interactive sessions going weekly. But yeah, let me know. Because yeah, I know. I love the sessions as well with you guys. I used to really enjoy the coaching course. Delvin says 1,000%. Okay, there you go. I think me and Jay need to have a chat afterwards then. But no, definitely, dude. Like, you're already in the wait list. So as soon as we go ahead and open the doors, I think we'll go ahead and do that. We'll do it in a way where, similar to how we did Zora Full Stack here, there's so much stuff that's constantly coming out. I think it's just important to open the door and kind of get the thing rolling. So, but amazing stuff. Thank you so much, dude. So it should not yet delivered, but also refund. So none of the stuff can be really basically here. The order is marked as refundable. Okay, so let's say, for example, this one. So let's say refund this order. And then we're almost there though. This is doing a sick job. Okay, so table pack now pinned, blah 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 blah. Okay, scout delegate Neve child run. But you guys can see how cool this is, right? Like, this is crazy. Nice, waiting for me. And again, why are things coming out of turn like that? That's so annoying. Where did they even put it? Okay, put it up here. Well, so protected action. Order, reason delivered, order outside. Do you approve processing the refund? Yeah. So let's say I want to approve that refund. Okay, so turn step failed after 3 of tool approval response references unknown approval ID. No matching tool. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this in the chat. And also I'm going to say this. We'll say, in addition, the approvals are often coming out of turn. So I need the latest, like I need every single item to come as a chat naturally word, always at the bottom of the chat. In addition, change the layout of the chat, because right now we're barely using the height of the chat. Like, everything else is like fluff around it. We just need the input and we need the most amount of space to show the chat. Everything else can be minimized and basically we can save space, because I want to have more chat and just the input. Okay, so let's get this one quickly. And Delvin, I guess the next thing I want to ask is, would you prefer monthly or would you prefer one time or annually? Because we want to do live coaching inside this course. So you drop down below like what you think is fair for a kind of a course coaching schedule like that. I'm curious because I'm really trying to figure out the numbers so we can just open the doors. Workflow itself progressed nicely. First go nice. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this down. And I just want to get this. We have 14% left. Okay. I'm curious. I'm kind of like tempted to go into fast mode. With the approval ID that was no longer present. So I think it was because actually I approved an old run because of that. And to be honest, while this is running, I can actually deploy myself. So I'm going to do something. And by the way, look at that. That's cool. You can actually see one queue message failed attempt. So we can do Vercel deploy. And you see like deploying Sunny's Ultimate Agent demo, uploading. And it's uploading everything. That's a pretty big upload. I'm wondering what it's actually uploading. And notice how I could deploy here. Also, like if I get the, what's it called? So I mean, I deployed it now, but that will actually deploy everything. But again, the environment variables may not be set. So I'm gonna say also deploy to Vercel. Let's go ahead and do this as well. Combat chat UI, Eve approval investigation. So it's doing both the UI and Eve approval investigation as well as the deployment. So I just sent the message deploying to Vercel preview, not production. And two fixes. Oh, it's fine. Vercel preview. I just did a production one. It's fine. Let's cancel that. I mean, they're still running in the background. It's ma. A gem says, "Let's go, Pop Fam." Appreciate you, dude. Okay, so it's crazy because this didn't even go the build route, and I still had like a 3.5 hour live stream. It's like I get carried away in these streams. Okay, monthly feels way more relatable and cheaper, to be honest. Personally, I'll go with a month. Okay, cool. And what would you feel for a community like that would be a fair amount? Just so I can like kind of work it around. And obviously you've been at OG for ages. So let me know. Because yeah, I agree. I think a monthly situation would be awesome. Okay, so compact chat, the overchat. See, the oversized fill is coming from 3 stack Chrome layers before transcript. Okay, permanent. There we go. So %2 remaining. Oh, okay. We're at the edge of my usage. I don't want to do a reset now. What I'm going to instead do is if it hits that, I will simply go to cursor and just finish from cursor. Unless, oh man, that's so frustrating. I'd happily do the billing one, but I don't think I've set it up properly though. So I don't want to stop that either. Hopefully you can just get it down beforehand. So created, let's see, Eve approval. Because we have a couple of agents in the go. Created. We could actually, after that, just switch to GPT 5.3 Codex. Probably won't do the nicest job, but it will probably get us over the line just for the finishing part. But hopefully this don't cut out on us. Quick fixes before preview deploy. So you can just jump into Codex Spark, to be honest, to carry on. I'm tracing the exact child approval lifecycle on Evals. Okay. Hopefully it got us the little push through. Let's go ahead and do npm dev. Oh, I'm so used to doing that npm run dev. Damn it. Oh man. You know what? It's fine. We shouldn't have both package lock and it's alright. You're out of Codex. Oh damn it, you're out of Codex and work usage. I found out what the button never written to us. Okay. Is it gonna carry on or is it just gonna kill me? Let's see. I want to see if I click add credits, how quickly can I just top this up? Oh, I really know. So bounce £5 bonus. Okay, let me see if I can quickly just grab them because I've got a ton of stuff here, but I'm going to use them either way. So let me just see in the background. Okay. I'll quickly try and... I'm literally grabbing credits just so we can quickly get over the line on the ending. Well, I don't have on this one. Do you know what? We don't need to. We don't need to be honest. I have an idea. You put me in a tight corner. It's all right, dude. Just be all good with it. We appreciate the feedback. $20 a month feels like the perfect sweet spot. I feel it matches what most top AI models charge, making it super familiar. Yeah, okay, cool. Nice. Good to know, dude. Okay, so come back to UI improve. So let's go and do... I wonder if we can pop to this. Reset to default. Oh, okay. Anyway, it's fine. Here's what it is. So what we can do now is let's just go ahead and do npm run dev. And then, what's it called? Use available ports. So I want to kill all my old ports. Else off. 3000, 3001. What's these ones? Hope you're good. Okay, so I think I've got in a corner case with that at the moment. $3,000. Okay. Sign in. Here we are. So let's give it a quick try. Hopefully it got it in time, but if it didn't, it's fine. Yeah, okay, it did a bit before it kind of cut out. We've got our chat here as well. So let's go ahead and try it one more time. Find the 3 best product upgrades, then help me order it. Hopefully it got in. If not, again, remember, we can go ahead and just use cursor. It's fine. I've got the whole nother usage line here as well that we can use. Come on, E. Weirdly though, my agent here doesn't work. Oh, no, it does. See, we have all this. Oh. Is this running? Let's have a look. So I'm gonna say my agents were in the process of fixing something, both regarding the chat UI as well as Eve approval flow. So this was around retries in Eve's child approval lifecycle. Fix what they weren't finished fixing. Okay, so let's do this, and I'm just going to go ahead and finish it off inside of cursor. So I guarantee what happened here is we basically didn't have, one second, I'm going to say, don't focus on testing so much. I just want the actual build working. So the problem is it started changing it and then it died. So because of that, we're stuck in this really annoying corner case. Oh, damn it. Tracing the unfinished work from the current diff and prior agent handles, and I'll fix the approval lifecycle as source and do a build focus verification. This is cool. So in Cursor, I mean, it's another learning opportunity to be fair. Cursor is cool because I love how it throws Composer 2.5 fast into the discovery side of things. And even here, like it's doing recover prior agent work. It's put GPT 5.6 so medium on that. And then it's put Composer 2.5 on tracing things through. Devin goes, that totally caught me off guard, huh? But we all know the value we get is way more than that. Then don't hold it against. No, dude, absolutely welcomed. Thank you. Remember, our goal is to make it accessible to everyone. So we care more about getting loads of people inside that community as opposed to, like a one-time situation. We'll give everyone the option of whatever they find that they want to use. Inspect unfinished, Eve approval changes. Awesome stuff. So you see how I found it? So in this case, we can see over here. And then what we do is just make this bit max space-wise. And again, remember, this is actually in the diff window, but typically your agent view would be like this. So over here now is where we'd be seeing it. The only thing is if you start a chat from the IDE, it doesn't tend to flow nicely here. So I'd recommend you just carry on inside of your IDE. Otherwise, it doesn't tend to show all the tool calls and all that stuff. Okay, so let's see. Waiting for the shell. Inspect unfinished Eve. And inside of here, let's have a look what we're at on the billing. So right now I'm on, we've got 3% API usage. Okay. So we're absolutely fine over here. And to be honest with you, that was a prime example of how I work. So a lot of the time, I tend to hop between these. I tend to hop between Claude Code, Codex, Cursor. So most of the time, it's not that I run out of credits, it's that I just hit the 5-hour limit. And at that point, I will either use, I tend to separate tasks. Usually the creative stuff and the high level stuff, Fable, Now with 5.6, the balance is a lot more different, I'd say. I'd probably use 5.6 for a lot of this stuff as well. So run next, but it's handy. Basically, I just have both up. And because I'm using both, I tend to not hit the 5-hour limits, even if I'm going crazy with it. Because I don't tend to have things stuck in ultra mode. So that's the main thing. Only when I absolutely need it to like seriously go in and fix something. Or I've got a reset and I need to use up my tokens to the max. Right? So compile Eve agent and approval flows. So it's basically fixing this one out. Let's have a look. Run build Eve. And you can even go in fast mode here as well by going here to edit, and you just toggle it here. 2 times more expensive, but faster speeds. So Tim the Great One says, I'm just getting started with AI agents and want to learn. Where exactly do you advise I start from? My problem is that there is too much information and everything is changing too fast. Firstly, you're in a great place. So I'd 100% recommend my channel because obviously we teach it, tend to be on stream. However, I don't know if you missed it earlier, but we have got a community coming up and we're releasing access in waves. So feel free to join us at Zero to AI here. It's going to be totally affordable. We just spoke to Delvin on live stream, one of our OG members, and that's going to be $20 a month or £20 a month, pretty much. We'll figure it out. But once we release this, totally affordable, and it's going to be a place where you can go ahead and jump into calls literally like this. Like this is how I do coaching calls in these communities. They're going to have like broken down segments, so you don't have to digest 4 hours. It will just be a 10-minute quick explainer on this is how this works, right? Super easy stuff to understand, as well as every week. I love the live coaching calls that I do because I get to literally sit here and talk to students and explain all this stuff and answer questions and do like builds and so forth. So that's what I'd 100% million percent recommend. Join us over there. Otherwise, it can be intimidating, and that's why we're really on the sort of target of building the community and launching it ASAP. Okay, so the Eva program is architecturally correct. Okay, so recent okay, so this is all good. Pending state, possible unfinished web system trace. Okay, so that's fine. Found a concrete runtime blocker B on the UI. The active next.js process was started before the new dynamic workflow tool. So Eve is okay, that's why it was happening. So this was the problem. I had this running in the background. So remember we added dynamic workflow support? I never cut the old terminal inside of Cursor. So because of that, so we actually need to kill it. So because of that, it was basically trying to, that's what that Q message that we kept seeing was. Mina Lee Vision says, hell yeah, I appreciate the energy. That's awesome, dude. And these, I'm not going to say if I don't know what changes I made. Okay, result parsers, what is that? Okay, I think now if we run it, we should be gold. So pm dev. Oh, it's actually ran it already. See, that's why I didn't start it. In this case, it ran npm run dev. So let's give it a try. So 3,000. There we are. Sign in. And hopefully we're on our final test now. So we have it here. It's no longer freaking out. That's good. So shop. I think we still have the items in our cart. No, okay, we don't. So shop. Let's go ahead and add some stuff. Boom, boom, boom. We've got our cart over here. Okay. Ask Scout to help. Find the best 3 product upgrade for my cart. And then let's actually do a new chat. Okay. This is annoying, but it's fine. It's a small bug. Now it's thinking. So Francis says, hi, thank you for giving back to the community. Is Cursor, you're absolutely welcome, dude. Thank you. He goes, is Cursor spec-driven development, or do you have to install a third-party skill, or is it Cursor planning good enough even for huge projects? So 100 million %, check out the Superpowers plugin. So I've made a whole video on Cursor 3.0 plugins. Literally, we were talking about it with Delvin in the chat. Go check that one out, but download the Superpower plugin. And then I would recommend, that has like a nice way of doing something called PRDs, which is like basically break down a task or a feature into like a deliverable with like a acceptance criteria. And then those are really good with LLMs as opposed to like just, so remember all of this stuff, they're just harnesses, which means that like you're just putting the model into like Cursor, Codex environment and all this. And yes, whilst they tend to add a little bit of like pizzazz, like Cursor adds its own little flair to it, how you choose to use it. Some people like spectrum development, some people don't. So it really depends on how you want to build it out. But I'd really recommend installing skills like Superpowers, do the brainstorming beforehand, and then go into plan mode, get the plan down right, and then execute. And then executing has its own layers to it as well. Delvin in this community said it'll definitely help you out through the noise and stay ahead of the right tooling expertise. 100% dude. Heard it here first with Delvin. What total budget would you like for this stream? Okay, let's just do $500. And you can see we don't get those same errors anymore, which is great. It's actively changing a couple of things in case. So, but also, again, the right order now. So what should we prioritize when choosing? Let's just do portability. We can see here, look, I mean, there's some weird error there, but I don't know what that's for. Recommendation analysis is working. Retry connection. Oh, God's sake, it keeps killing the connection. Okay, it's because it's trying to do a build. Stop temporary development. But I think we're at the end now. I'm pretty sure it's working now. Yeah, so it's good. Unhandled queue. Now it's getting the same unhandled queue after doing that. npm run dev. I think you can just kill the entire, what's it called? The entire workflow data, to be fair. Yeah, like you see, it just did it. It just killed the entire, I think it's basically when we added in the workflow, dynamic workflow support, it basically screwed up the old workflow data. So now if it starts this fresh, it keeps killing it. It's driving me crazy. Okay, let's try again. 3,000. Okay, there you go. Now it hasn't got that race. So it basically is whenever you enable dynamic workflows. Yeah, no, we're ready again. So let's check if it does it. And we can just say continue. Let's see. Interesting, it goes up there. Francis says, awesome, thank you. We'll give it a shot. Another question I found, sometimes the agents would not know what the other agent did in the same workspace project when you have many agents. Yeah, totally a valid thing to be worried about. It's and it's natural that that's going to happen because they don't have the same context. So you need to basically have either a persistent memory session, but when you're considering work, your best bet is like project tracking platform like Linear. Notion just released ShipOps, which is amazing as well. But linear ticketing would be something that I'd really recommend you look at. And also Claude MD and Agents MD files. So that's like where your rules live, like all your agent rules and what they should do, what they shouldn't be doing. And then linear for your ticketing. So that way an agent can come in and be like, okay, this is what's happening. And also you shouldn't be working on the same local branch. You should all be like kind of Git work trees. Again, like don't get overwhelmed with this. The main thing is just use it a ton. And then, like I said, join our community or just see how I do it in the builds. A lot of the time through the builds, I tend to explain it. The last build, I explained the entire Git flow very well. So you can feel free to check out the last build and do the summarize tool. YouTube has like a summarize AI thing. And then basically say, find the place in this video where he talks about Git work trees. And you'll find that exact timestamp. Okay, so in this case, find the best. Is it going to kill it again? Oh, it's so annoying when it keeps doing this. The currently is the complete investigation to 2 remaining lifetimes. I'm trying to response. Okay, it keeps on pausing the thing, which is why I'm not getting this. To be honest, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kill it. So I'm going to kill this one. I'm going to stop this. I'm going to run it myself. So npm run dev. There we go. Cool. And then, and that's happening because of it added it back in, I guarantee. Yep. So delete that, come back, npm run dev. And you see how it's gone now. Yeah, okay. So now we do refresh. Let's do a new chat. And then find this best 3 product upgrade for my cart. We should be able to get a full run through now without getting constantly cut off by the AI. Because what was happening is I was just fighting against this. So you see child recommendation results now render before downstream approval. Okay. So hopefully we're all good here. So we can see the parameters that get sent through, the result. Okay, here we are. So let's do, for example, let's do a tight budget, 200. Right, so because last time it was too easy. And then how should we prioritize this? Say best value. And then let's see. So it's thinking. And what you could do here is even add in the thinking down here. So you know that it's doing something and it's kind of like working it out. Even on the side of this, what I really want to show is when we deploy this, how that all comes together really nicely. So I'm saying Vercel deploy, run, Vercel deploy. What's this? Why did it cut off? Okay, Vercel. Recommendation analysis. So please read on me. Okay, so let's see. Okay, I found it. Again, the order is out of whack, which is annoying, but approve the simulated order. Boom. To fix that is honestly quite simple, guys. You just go ahead and just tell it. Just make sure the latest approval gates and everything is down below. Okay. In this case, it went through. We're seeing a few repeats here, but it's all right. I'm not going to focus on that too much, otherwise it's going to take too much time. So recommendation Python optimizer, 120 combined combinations evaluated. So I want to show you actually, where did that happen? So we should have had a really nice breakdown, recommendation analysis, Python source. So it definitely actually did a Python comparison. Just wondering where it showed it. But you can see here, like Python optimizer. So it actually did 120. We can show you that when we deploy it to Vercel. I'm gonna show you in the sandbox instead, but you can see that it found a bundle of 3 items with $23 remaining, place the order. And then that's 00I. So if we go to orders, 00I. Okay, perfect, there. And that's the 3 orders below 30. Amazing. Okay, so it works. Amazing stuff. Now we're gonna go ahead and deploy it. And just to prove to you the point of how easy it is to deploy, next config, wrap it with Eve. And now it should go ahead and deploy to the same place. And then we can see here, previous one failed during the nitro package. Mapping middleware not found, maybe we provided a wrong middleware. Let's see, the failure occurred afterwards. Interesting. So fix it. Proxy.ts. We do have a middleware. So interestingly enough, let's have a look. While that's happening anyway, we can have a look. So we go to our, I have so many tabs open at this point. I have, so overview, deployments. We have 2, one was failed. Let's have a look. So mapping middleware not found. The only issue here is that we had everything context-wise set up in Codex. Also, I'm finding that this is absolutely draining my environment. There you go. So that's absolutely killing it. So will you guys be doing any build challenges in the future? It's been a minute. Whoa, it's a good thing you asked that actually, dude. Jay, screenshot that. We actually are thinking about doing one very shortly. Probably in a different format. I think it will probably be something along the lines of a boot, like, no, not bootcamp, I'm saying, hackathon style approach. I think like a hackathon would be cool. What do you reckon? Like, what would you want to see? Like, because it's very tricky because the format has changed now since AI has come into the picture. Vercel's service output merge Eve's installed require experimental framework recognition for hosted Eve services. So I'm testing that single missing deployment flag first. Oh yeah, that's why. There is a flag, sorry, that I forgot to include. It's this one here. Vercel use experimental frameworks because we're using the experimental one. And Delvin is definitely asking the right questions. Hackathon will be cool. Yeah, I think so too. A hackathon, some kind of hackathon, we say what the tech stack is, we say some kind of like guidance, and then we set some prizes and we do some cool thing around that. Let's see. Okay, so it's actually built through. It's on the final bit now. Mapping, maybe you provided everyone. Okay, mapping middleware not found. Interesting. Okay. While that's happening, let's just double check something. Could be because I have the, oh wow, loads of people having, oh no, that's different, sorry. So look, connect with Vercel, authenticate. Let me go ahead and give this access. Okay. So what we just did there was we authenticated a Vercel MCP, which is basically like a exposes tools. So our agent can go ahead and look at what went wrong. So in this case, it can go actually dive into it and see what's going on. But it's definitely what we saw before. So it's definitely along the lines of this. So if you can see here, another one. Deployment settings, one recommendation. This is a new one for me. You can preview this using an NPX natural. I have a feeling though, it's definitely to do with deploying outputs, NPX natural deploy pre-built. We're definitely using an experimental. The retry disproves framework flag theory. Yeah, it shows every build completes deployment rejects the final combine out because it's middleware manifest .2_middleware. I'm reproducing the generated output locally to identify which configs emit. So it's so it's either one of our configs is pushing our middleware weirdly outward, or it's let's see, Vercel Eve dynamic workflows. Because it was when we added that. That's the only difference I did in this versus what I've done in the past. So I want to see, come on, okay, dynamic. Let's just type in workflows, workflow. Okay, so experimental workflow tool. What workflow can orchestrate spawned agents, where the JavaScript runs. Response, quick JavaScript, observability. So maybe middleware. One says middleware. No. Failing artifact is a TurboPack build with a valid clerk proxy. We can do Webpack, but again, it's not ideal. So really, we want to keep it TurboPack, but let's see if it works on Webpack. Either way, I don't want to debug it for hours on a stream, but we'll try with Webpack. So that compiled. Let's see. Collecting page data using 13 workers. The middleware. Deploy. Okay, so Vercel, MPS Vercel deploy, yes. So now we're doing the same deployment, but with Webpack. Could be because one of the experimental things that we added on doesn't support TurboPack. What's very cool is that once we deploy, I'd love to show the actual sandboxing and workflow execution. Even the evals, like hopefully I think we can even see the evals there. So let's see, hopefully this gone through. Okay, it's creating a production build. So far, so good. So let's go to deployments, building. Come on. Okay. So you see now it's through using Webpack. Super interesting though. Very much a first for me, edge case. I have had issues with TurboPack in the past though, so it definitely isn't a valid thing. Also, this is interesting, by the way. PNPM improved builds, because this is something which I have an issue with. So on my computer, because of what I've set PNPM up for, that could be exactly what it is. Oh my God. That could be exactly, I mean, hopefully it's not this, but that's my own mistake that you lot won't get. If it comes up again, it's 100% that. Yeah, it's 100% that. It's 1,000,000% that. Yep, it's 1,000,000% that. Okay, so I'm gonna say, stop this from happening on deployments. This is because I set up a strict PNPM rule, but we don't want this to happen for our production app. So you can still use TurboPack, but just prevent this ever happening with the approved builds. Like, we'll just allow the build to go through. So this is actually something that I did basically when there was a big hack that came online with the node modules. Basically, I set up my PNPM so it was super strict. And as a result, what's happened here is it's flagged to all of these libraries, because the reason why I would have flagged these is because they probably released a new version in the last 7 days, which is a dependency for what we need to get our middleware running. So that's why I'm saying you need to do approved builds, but that's super frustrating. So it's overkill, to be fair. The workspace contains unresolved PNPM approved builds. Strict dependency builds enabled. That makes install approve exactly the live Fireflag and restore the TurboPack build command. So you can actually bypass that. So if we do PNPM, what's that? PNPM allow. What was that? +5. And that should have gone through. Yep, there you go. Crazy. Wow. Okay, so hopefully it still works though, because interestingly enough, I don't see our middleware proxy route. Oh no, we do. Proxy middleware. Yeah. Okay, so now hopefully we shouldn't get this warning. So that just goes to show you, don't ignore the warnings. But chances are, to be honest, you guys won't run into that. So you really don't have an issue. NPM run build, this version, cool. Now TurboPack's not an issue, because you want to keep TurboPack if you can, because it's way faster than Webpack. It's also awesome if you're using like mono repos. So Okay. See, so you see how now it got passed? Oh, for God's sake. Okay. Failed in that bit, but it's still. So weird. Okay. Either way, this is 100% my PMPM setup. This is down to my config because I have a very unique config. Trust me, this is definitely one of those things using Node 24 runtime. Okay, but either way, I'm gonna show you a raw deployment on my side. So if we go to Vercel Eve agent stack, when I drop that video, you can feel free to check it out. But your full deployment won't have an issue. So it's just proof to show you, like this is one of my other deployments. Node.js, Node 24, PMPM lock. So there's a small difference between this one and the previous and the one that I showed you. So in this case, we have routes not found, stated as pre-rendered as static content, and then this one. I'm just trying to see the exact log difference. So let's see. Dynamic server rendered, proxy is middleware. Super interesting. Oh. Okay, deployment remains bottom up. Okay. But either way, I'm going to go ahead and work this one out. If I come up with a solution for this one, I'll drop it in the comments afterwards rather than staying on stream for ages trying to figure it out. But just know that you can deploy this, right? I've done it in the Vercel Eve agent stack demo over here. And speaking of that demo, I want to show you the actual way it would look. So back on a recap. So when we would have started chatting to it, it would have spun up a couple of these things. So it would have spun up a workflow, in which case you can click into it. You'd see exactly how the run went through. So this would be all of the individual tool calls that we would have seen. And then we can actually inspect into each individual one. Now, in this case, we didn't have to specify use workflow or use step. Like you can check out the docs, what I mean by that. But in this case, it would have specifically broken down each of these into the sub-agent calls and everything in between. And then obviously, if you want to see how expensive one part or another part was, you can decrypt it and find out. It has all the parameters in here. Okay, so that's one thing. As well as the sandbox, you can actually see these are basically like small isolated runtime environments that will literally spin up. Basically, your agent can do its work inside of it, like any kind of calculation, and then go ahead and basically, what's it called? Okay, so I'm so invested in this now. We're on. Okay. Anyway, I'll come back to this. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'll literally let my agent kind of figure this one out. I suppose it recalls Eve's collocate serves. Eve's only serves the main next. Okay. While configuring still references in Eve multi-serves output collision, not PMP. I'm checking with Eve supports like this. Okay, so I actually found the issue was because of a clash between Eve's co-locate service leaves only services Eve. The main next.js functions. Middleware functioning mapping disappears while config.json still references. Yes, double pack and clerk-auth, but deploy Eve as a separate Vercel project and rewrite Eve to it. Okay, alternately wait for Eve Vercel fix, downgrade to Eve to not recommended due to missing later fixes, remove cloud proxy not recommended. Okay, so it's currently like a little bit of a, I guess it was literally a downgrade to Eve. So it's literally a recent upgrade. So I guess someone, what am I on Eve? Where is it? Where is it? Eve. Yeah, Note 224. Okay, so it was literally a 0.1 minor upgrade. So this will, by the time you watch this, like, it was published 11 hours ago. But fireworks, it was published. So chances are, in that release, something broke that tweaked it, and I have a feeling it was literally that. So it was probably something very, very small from there. But either way, it'll get resolved. By the time you watch this, you probably won't even experience that. That's why my other one worked, because it was 0.1 instead of 0.4. So chances are they'll patch either clerk or patch Eve, and then that will get through. But let's give a quick summary of what we did today, and then yeah, we can wrap it up. But overall, yeah, it's crazy big. I actually expected that to be like a 2-hour build, but it was a 4-hour build. That's crazy. Nice one, guys. All right, so this is what we covered today. Vercel Eve framework, basically going to be the new way to go ahead and build agents moving forward. I've got a whole dedicated video on the entire thing coming, so you guys can feel free to check that one out. We also covered CLIs and the importance of CLIs. So it's clerk CLI, how important that was So our agent can do all of the setup, configuration, all that stuff for us. We didn't have to once go into the dashboard, create a project, do all that kind of manual step stuff. It did everything for us, as well as the Convex CLI, right? So any time you're working with any of these services, check if they have a CLI, install the plugins, which means that you're installing the skills, the MCPs, whatever the tooling is behind it, get the tooling. And most importantly, I would say, is the CLI, right? The CLI really is I would say, my biggest bit of advice there. We also ran through GPT 5.6, so all of that goodness and basically how it works. Very impressed with the outcome in terms of the design that it came out with, all that good stuff. I thought it was amazing. I thought, honestly, now, for the first time, I can say GPT actually came out with a good creative design, as opposed to GPT 5.5, which absolutely sucked in my opinion. And of course, none of this would have been possible without Clerk, right? So we did Clerk to basically have a secure agent session. So that way basically our user can, only a pro logged in user was able to access the entire session. And we touched on things which were literally released like not even days ago, right? So Clerk and Vercel Eve literally just dropped an entire integration together just 2 days ago, and we covered it already on the channel today. So let me know what your favorite part was in the chat down below. As always, guys, it's your boy Sunny. I hope you're enjoying this new format, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.